Call to order the regular meeting of the Dale City City Council for May 1, 2023. Melissa, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Kyle Gandy,
Here.
Councilwoman Claudia Brown,
Here.
Councilwoman Pam Finch,
Here.
Councilman Michael Dean,
Here.
and Mayor Eason.
The mayor is here. Would you rise, please, for the invocation, and I'll ask Councilman Dean to bring us the invocation.
Shall I pray? Lord, thank you, Lord, for this beautiful day, for this wonderful nation that we live in, and for all the blessings that you give to us. Lord, we pray for our militaries, both here at home and around the world. We pray for their safety. Lord, we pray for our first responders, for their safety and security. And Lord, we pray that you'll be with us tonight as we make decisions for the city, and that we do our best job that we can for our fellow citizens. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Chief Berger, would you lead us in the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Okay. We're going to begin with a proclamation, Kids to Parks Day. Whereas May 20, 2023 is annual Kids to Parks Day, which is organized and launched by the National Park Trust, held on the third Saturday of May. And whereas Kids to Parks Day empowers kids and encourages families to get outdoors and visit local parks, public lands, and waters. And whereas we should encourage children to lead a more active lifestyle to combat issues of childhood obesity, diabetes, hypertension, and high cholesterol. And whereas Kids to Parks Days will broaden children's appreciation for nature and outdoors. And whereas Kids to Park Day will recognize the importance of recreating responsibly while enjoying the benefits of the outdoors. Now therefore I, Floyd A. Eason, Mayor of the City of Dale City, do hereby recognize May 20th, 2023 as Kids to Parks Day. And I encourage Dale City parents to participate in Kids to Parks Day activities with their children. Signed, Floyd Eason, Mayor, City of Dale City. Okay, we now come to the portion on the agenda. It's the public and council input. Anybody that would like to address the council on non-agenda items, you have up to 5 minutes to speak on non-agenda items. Is there anybody who'd like to speak to the council on non-agenda items? Seeing none. Councilman Gandy.
Nothing at this time.
Councilman Brown. Sorry I had to get there.
Thank you so much. With this being my first meeting, I do actually have a few things to mention. Mayor, thank you so much for giving me the time. First off, I want to thank our police chief and all of our police department. I have seen them the most recently, being at the Rotary as well as our Neighborhood Watch Association, so I know that they are definitely building relationships and also being completely available for assisting Rose State College. I know that was very important and a shining moment for us to be able to help in that matter. They were also at the Tiger Trot. Townsend Elementary is in my ward, Ward 3. Townsend Elementary had a Tiger Trot last Saturday, not this past Saturday, but the Saturday before. It was amazing. They had, the police were able to come and make it. Dr. Cobbs was there. We've got some pictures here that were sent. Unfortunately, Miss Melissa was not able to make it today. She was not feeling well, but she's a wonderful community leader. One of our teachers there at Townsend has started a fitness club that starts every morning, and they are doing a Tiger Trot. And she did want me to mention that they are also doing a Special Olympics that is going to be on May the 5th. There is going to be about 148 participants from 9 different schools that will be coming on May the 5th. So I would love you guys to be able to attend and cheer them on. It's going to start at 10 a.m. and it's going to last till about 1. So hope to see all of you guys there. Another update, the Vintage Store and More, that is also in my ward, did finally get their brand new sign up. So I'd love for you guys to drive by and see the brand new sign. It looks really, really good. Free Comic Book Day is coming up. The comic book store is Ward 3. Don't forget that fabulous spot there. Free Comic Book Day is on May the 6th. So after our parade on May the 6th, they are giving away free comic books to students, and I believe that you get up to 3 free. Starts at 11 there at our amazing comic book store. That is on May the 6th. And let's see here. I want to give a shout out to one of my Danwa patrol captains, David Ellison. He represented Del City very well at the Memorial Marathon. On Saturday, he ran the 5K and got 6th place. He in the age range of 70 to 74. So out of 32 participants, he did get 6th place. So we're very proud of him for that. And he also ran the half marathon on Sunday. So not only did he run on Saturday, he ran on Sunday and met his goal of running it all under 3 hours. So we're very proud of him for representing Del City and Ward 3. Danwa, go Danwa. Thank you.
Councilman Finch?
Most of it I've already given to JD, but also on Tuesday, May 9th at 6:30, the OBS will be having a family fun bicycle ride, which will start at the Rotary Park Pavilion. It'll head down Dell Road to Glen Avenue, just west of Epperly Heights by 6:30. And then it'll zigzag back around, come up 22nd, so the children can learn how to do their hand signals for bike safety. If you need any information, contact Larry Hopper with the Rotary Club of Del City.
Very good. Councilman Dean?
Yes, there's a couple of different places in the city where we have the road bases failing, which is basically by Destiny Christian School on 29th Street. So basically we're ending up with a big pothole out there. And then over on Sooner Road, over by some of our, by Ted's and different places there, there's another one there. So the hope is that, we can get a good professional crew out there to go and repair this before it gets worse, instead of waiting for us to think that we need to replace all of 29th Street. Hopefully we can get these different bad spots fixed. Thank you.
Okay. JD, I understand there's a parade going to be happening this weekend.
So I've been told.
It's going to be a great parade. There's a lot of good activities going on. Last year was fantastic, and it's going to be better this year. Is that right? Guaranteed by JD. But everyone turn out. We're lining up at 9 is my understanding. And then at 9:45, we're going to have a pre-opening ceremony. Where's Brittany?
Brittany?
But at 10 o'clock, the parade starts. There's a new route. We're going to start it at 15th Street rather than at I-40, so we don't have to shut down the access roads to the interstate this year. But it's going to be a great event. We're looking forward to it, and I hope everybody can turn out and have a good time. JD, what do you got for us?
Mayor, isn't it actually starting on 17th Street? So,
Yeah, 15th, 17th.
So 17th. So the best place to start would be, or show up would be the high school south.
The freshest candy is at 15th Street. Anyway, 15th Street, 17th Street, that's where it begins. Don't go to I-40, you'll be all alone. Okay, JD, what do you got for us?
Okay, couple of things. One thing to get on the calendars for now, we have always done State of the City in the month of June, and one of the requests is to move it from the lunchtime period because so many people have to work to move it to in the evening. So the State of the City for the City of Del City is scheduled for June 15th, 2023 at 6 p.m. at the Community Center. And it's going to be a chance for all of the council people, different department directors here at the city, and myself to give updates on what's happening with the city, give an opportunity for the citizens to interact with us, ask questions, things of that nature. So that is scheduled for June 15th, 2023 at 6 p.m.
That's usually a daytime event, isn't it?
Right.
Changing it to 6 p.m.
Yes, sir.
Do we get overtime for that?
Alyssa?
No. We don't. Never mind. Sorry.
Did a quick update with the parade. Yes, it's scheduled to kick off at 9:45 on Saturday. Our final determination for weather will be by 8 o'clock in the morning by our fire chief. Everything looks great. Please pray for clear skies. We know it's going to be a wonderful time. Bulk trash is to begin on May the 29th. You can start placing your trash out by the curb on May 25th, not before. Code enforcement is still out and about. We actually have our new code officer that just started this week, so yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, let's not let's not put anything out there before the 25th. But starting on the 25th, you can start putting out the bulk trash, and it'll be picked up beginning on the 29th. And last but not least, our first 2 chapters of our comprehensive plan are complete and have been turned into us for review. We're making modifications and things to that, so between the city planner, the development director, and myself, we'll be reviewing that this week. We're very excited to have it, and we will have updates for you all in the coming weeks.
All right, very good. City clerk.
I have nothing at this time.
All right, moving on to item number 6, consent docket. Discussion, consideration, possible action to approve the following items by unanimous consent with one motion. Item A is minutes of April 17, 2023, regular meeting of council. Approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the council for April 17th, 2023. Item B is a budget amendment. Approve a budget amendment for fiscal year 2022-2023 as shown in Exhibit A to the council agenda. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion, we approve the minutes
Second.
and the budget.
about the
Sorry,
budget?
items A and B.
Thank you. In your second?
Second is for B also.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Take the vote. Councilman Gandy?
Aye.
Councilman Finch?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Brown?
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. The motion carries. Item number 7, presentation, Dining in Del City Expose for May 2023. Discussion, consideration, possible action to approve or deny a presentation from the Economic Development Team on the Dining in Del City Expose recipient for May 2023. Chilino's Mexican Restaurant, located at 115 South Sooner Road. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion, we hear the presentation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Take the vote. Councilman Gandy?
Aye.
Councilman Finch?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Brown?
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. The motion carries. Let's see, is Kelly given the, who's? Rashana. It says Kelly Wilbanks. Rashana, please step to the podium and identify yourself for the city clerk.
Good evening, Council. Rashana Moore, Economic Development Marketing Coordinator. I'd like to present the May recipient for Dining in Del City, which is Chilino's. The bio reads that Marcielo Garcia, known as Chilino, came to Oklahoma City from Mexico when he started out as a dishwasher at a local Mexican restaurant. He worked his way up to cook and then into management. He later opened his own restaurant called Chilino's, which now has 10 locations throughout Oklahoma City Metro, and also a tortilla factory, a meat market, and a Mexican import store. So we want to just invite everyone to be a part of their story and join them at 115 Sooner Road in Del City and watch their business grow. We have Victor Soto, and he's from Chilino's, and then we're going to do a presentation.
Good evening, councilmen, women. I would like to thank the city of Del City for the opportunity that has given us Chileno Marcelino Garcia, founder, and the Corporation of Chilenos. And would like to thank also all our patrons from Del City, Midwest City, and surrounding areas. Thank you very much for this award. Thank you, guys.
Certificate.
Okay. I gotta say, we hosted a meet and greet for Marissa Treat at your place here recently, and it just came off wonderfully. That little room you have on the north side.
Yes, sir.
Worked perfect, and the food was excellent. Thank you for having us out there.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Shauna, anything else? Tell us about the samples?
Oh, yes, we do have samples. I don't know if you want to wait.
We'll get them in just a minute. Let's get them in just a minute. We have some things we need to knock out first. I'd like to jump ahead on the agenda to item number 15. Item number 15 is Oklahoma Natural Gas, a division of One Gas Incorporated, non-exclusive franchise. And we are going to take these separately. We're going to do A first, and it's discussion, consideration, possible action to approve with modifications, or deny the following. Item A is ordinance number 1417, granting to Oklahoma Natural Gas, a division of One Gas Incorporated, a non-exclusive franchise for the installation, operation, and maintenance of a gas distribution system in the city of Del City, and the selling of gas therein for a term of 25 years. Authorize mayor to endorse same. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to approve ordinance number 1417, authorize mayor to endorse same.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Yeah. Would you like to come would you come to the podium? State your name for the clerk, please.
I'm Marty Euler, Oyler, with Oklahoma Natural Gas, Mayor and City Council. It's nice to be here this evening. I have a couple of co-workers with me, Marla Freeman, our Community Relations Manager, and our Managing Attorney, Dustin Frederick, is with me this evening. I think you have a draft of the franchise, and you've had an opportunity to review it. We began discussions in November with the mayor and the former city manager and Melissa, and since then we've had several conversations via email and otherwise with Beverly Palmer. So in front of you, you have the draft that we would like to have approved this evening, and then it will go to a vote of the people in August, on August 8th. It will be for a 25-year franchise agreement, beginning at 3%, which you're at 3% now. And to just give you an idea of what we're talking about, we pulled numbers before we met in November of the last 12 months of the 3% fee that we collected on residential, commercial, and industrial customers, not including the transport customers. And the amount collected in that 12-month period was $236,000. So that was at 3%. So this new draft includes, it starts at 3%, and then in 2025, it will go to 3.05%, and then it will go up 0.05% every 5 years until, so 2030, it'll be 3.10, 3.15, and 2035, and then 3.20 in 2040 till the end of the franchise. So that'll give you an idea. There'll be a little bit of an increase there. We do have included in this draft the ability to collect from the transport customers in your community. There are about 30 of those, and we would be collecting a fee on the commodity that they are purchasing. So our transport customers, they pay us directly for the transportation, the movement of the gas, delivery to them, and then they buy the commodity or the natural gas from a third party. So we take an average of that cost because we don't know what they pay, because they negotiate that with their supplier. So what we do is we just take an average of that from several different sources, and we collect the 3% and then provide that as well. So that would be the increase. If we look at that, we did kind of a high-level estimate on existing quantities, and it looks like that would be about $1,800 a month if we did all 30. And that does include some schools, and so we might want to exclude some of those, but they're there. Okay. All right, so there's a few other words and several pages, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have, and if I can't answer them, I know Dustin can. So we appreciate the partnership for 25 years that we've had with this community, and we look forward to a continued partnership. Any
So-
questions?
So in section 7, it's got duty to move and alter lines.
Uh-huh.
Can you explain some of those things that you had envisioned that you would pay for?
Okay.
Because it's, part of this is it's kind of murky with public, excluding private entities, which makes sense, and other public entities.
Right. So what we will pay to move are our lines in the public ways, the relocation to expand streets, and for the relocation of O&G facilities within public ways to build, expand new and existing city buildings. So if we're in the public way, not private easement, but public way, then we would move. Is that?
So for a public way, all of our, we have plats in our city. And so all the plats dedicate all the utility easements to the city. And so are utility easements included in this?
Yes, they are.
If it's a public, it's a public easement.
It-
If it's a private
it-
easement that we're in, that we're there because of a private easement that we've obtained, then it is not covered.
So a private easement would be that,
Like
You-
a private landowner, for example, we have, say for
so
example.
in 1970, if you got it from Mr. Epperly, and who
Yes.
developed a lot of this, and then he did the plat, and all the lines are in the right-of-way and easement, would you cover those?
No, if it's pre-existing private easement, typically that is not covered. So for example, oftentimes we have in some communities like that for growth opportunities, say the roads expand, and so we were in private easement, and they come in and obtain the ability to expand out, and they're four-laning the roads. Well, those were private easements that we had before they became public, so that is not covered under the franchise if it's a private easement, or we have purchased an easement, or there's other methods that we could get those easements from.
And so we have a pipeline that goes down Sunny Lane, that's in the right-hand lane, that gets repaired by you guys about once or twice a year, just finished up. So that one causes us an inconvenience. Is there a way to get that line moved?
I would have to look and see what line it is and how large it is, and see what the easement rights are there. And obviously, you got to have an opportunity of have land to move it to as well.
And so we have lines that follow Sunny Lane, or in fact, that Sunny Lane one that we're talking, that's going to most likely cross I-40 at the Sunny Lane Bridge. What do you envision happening whenever in 4 to 8 years and they start on the next phase of the highway reconstruction? Do you envision that whenever they ask us to go and try to move that pipeline, you think that this part, which again, is all about the roads being moved, and it's our City of Dell City right-of-way, because we were here before I-40, would that one be covered?
Hypothetically, you're asking for details. I'd have to look at the details of what all the right-of-way is.
Right.
But
So-
if it's an ODOT project, if that's what you're asking for, say the highway's coming in, there are some of those projects that are covered by ODOT. They reimburse on some of those projects, but they're all specific. We apply to ODOT for any of those dollars that we can get to reimburse for any relocations.
So they end up, we could hope that they might pay some percentage of it. But we've been through this already with Sooner Road, in particular, where we had to relocate the ONG one. And so our city ended up having to pay fully for it, or at least $125,000 or so to move that line. So we have the interstate expansion happening again, and as I read this part, the problem that I have with it is that you have other public entities. So whenever we're looking at I-40, Dell City existed in 1953? 48, sorry.
48, yep.
1948. ONG, you're one gas, everybody else. You guys came in here, I would assume, fairly close to whenever we were there, and have adopted this part, and the interstate was not there. So it was Dell City's easement. And so I want to see, before we go and sign this, to get this part figured out before we go through this whole ritual again about moving pipelines, because we definitely know that we're going to be expanding and changing out I-40. And we paid for the last one, and so we would like to see about getting something specified in this part, because it's confusing in the contract. If we went to court, it says public entity, it's like going,
It's public ways. We're
public
referring to
ways, public this
And
part.
public ways is defined, so I mean, in short, the easiest way to look at that, if the only way that we're existing in the location where a pipe is because it's a public way that's owned by the city, that is going to be paid for by us or by the remainder of our customers. If we have rights to be there outside of just the city itself, that is when we have the city pay.
Yeah,
That's the easiest way to look at it.
right. So can we get that in a letter so we know that, because I understand perfectly that, that yes, you can easily
we-
have a easement, again, just like Mr. Epperly or whatever, that example, where you actually paid for that easement, and I fully understand that part. But this part about us moving the last one, as far as I know, that was a public easement.
We can look into the details of what that is. I don't know what that project was. I guess fortunately or unfortunately, this is a legal document that's drafted by attorneys, so when I look at it, I know what that means, and I'm sure Ms. Palmer can understand what that is. It's not,
Right.
it's a legal contract, so it is a legal document with legal terms in it, and public ways is defined, and this is the standard draft that we provide all cities that has standard definitions in it for what all these things are, so it's how we operate across the state. So if there's something in there that it is not understood clearly or is misunderstood, I'd be more than happy to look at that to see if there's some adjustment to the language, if that helps.
So I can tell you it is definitely confusing, and it's meant, and I was like going, this is great, until I read all the caveats to it. And it's like going, this is their way out for each one of these things. Because you can go and say that the public entity being DOT, well, just like you said, well, that's federal money, and so obviously we're not going to do it. So if we could look into that, and then the other concern that I have is that the city of the village is building a park, and I've been watching it because my infrastructure is affected by waiting for them. And the village ended up just needing to have an important line that was wasn't buried deep enough to get it moved or removed in this part. And it ended up taking them 5 months. So the construction's going on, everything had to come to a complete stop. Everybody's, the streets are torn out, everything's in a mess. And as I'm reading this part that, it's saying that you're going to do it as quickly as possible. And so did they have trouble because their contractor contacted you to go and say, could you please do this work? I'm just kind of trying to understand, why would it take 5 months up at the city of the village
So I
to
will
move
tell
on.
you, one, is the village does not have a franchise. Two, with knowing it just now, these projects, we have thousands of projects on any given day across the state, so I do not know the details of every project going back historically
yeah.
that we've had. So I wouldn't know the details of what that is, and there's many things that can lead to differences of why it takes so long. There may be we're waiting on other utilities to move out of the way before we can move. It may be that there is a shortage of specific materials that need to be brought in with, especially here lately with all kinds of shortages on materials that we're waiting on. It could be just crews themselves, or getting into, there's only so much labor that can be done as well. And so, all those things can lead into timing.
Does your contractors, the guys who are actually doing the work, and I met a few of them and so forth, and do they know that you have this part in contracts with the easements that says that, you're going to do it with urgency? With some sorts of urgency? Does the rest of the people know to follow this part?
You mean
or
the franchise
the-
itself, or the communities that we
Right,
have franchises
that they have
with?
the franchises.
It
and that
doesn't have
whatever-
specifics on timing in there to say each project is done by a certain amount of time. I mean, that's just unmanageable to say
Yeah.
that of all circumstances, we're gonna look forward and have in there a certain period of time that everything is done. Obviously, projects have, timing considerations, whether it's emergency, whether it's safety related, compliance related, all those things take precedence. And then there's other items that could impact what the time frame is of certain projects being done. But yes, it is not detailed in a franchise that says every specific project of anything done is going to be done within a certain period of time.
Right. But again, that particular one was,
But
what
again, there's-
right, that particular one,
without
just
knowing
that
the
cost the city,
details-
it cost the city a lot of money. And the same way as far as for the right
The
of
city
ways.
of the village?
The city of the village, and the same way as for our moving of the thing. So those are the two things that I just would like to do. But on the other hand, is thank you for having such a thing. Like I said, I was very happy to see those parts, and I would just want to make sure that everybody is clear, because our lawyer, different people that we ask, we have a specific project of I-40 that's going to happen. And why not go ahead and get this figured out so we have an answer? Because once we sign this thing, we're not going to have this discussion anymore. All of a sudden, it's going to be no.
Well, I would say that we would have discussions of how that's done.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't be putting specific projects that may or may not occur within a franchise of how you operate. So we do have communities that don't have franchises. So I will tell you that having the franchise is very beneficial, because it lays out all the roles and responsibilities for both parties, not just us, but the city as well, so there's an understanding. So I do think the franchise is very beneficial from that standpoint. There are some communities that they don't have a franchise that they're working with, and so there's not a document to point to of these are the guidelines of how we're going to be working in. But it's very difficult to take a project that I don't know the specifics about, of where the line's in, that may or may not occur at some point in the time, and give a guarantee on what that is and who's going to fund it and pay for it.
So let's talk about a specific. This is something that I've been contending with over the last 2.5 years. The address is 405 South Sunny Lane. There's a gas line buried there, and it's about 6 to 8 inches deep. And we can't pour a sidewalk because the gas line is too shallow. We can't dig down and put the sidewalk in. There's a section of sidewalk that's out. And I have personally been complaining about that gas line for 2 years. Every once in a while, they'll send a man with a truck out there, and he'll look at it and say, yeah, that line's too shallow. Our subcontractor ran the line too shallow. And he drives off, and we never see him again.
Is this in the public ways for the city?
It is.
Or
It's
is
on
this private property?
It's on Sunny Lane, and it's in the easement because we're trying to put a sidewalk in the easement, and we have to stop there because we can't dig down below the gas line. And this has been an ongoing problem throughout Midway Village. The gas lines are buried too shallow. So are you telling me, because the gas lines that run east and west from Sunny Lane would probably be in private easement because it's going to be the homeowners' backyards. That's a private easement. Yet, the gas line was put in incorrectly in that it was put in too shallow. And we've never gotten relief from that.
Well,
But you're saying to relocate that line, it becomes not your problem because it's in a private easement. And I say it is your problem because you put the gas line in too shallow. And there was one hookup that I saw personally, and they had to dig under the gas line and go straight down because it was too shallow to come off the side or the top.
So when
Now,
you had the difference.
why have we not gotten any service in getting that line deep like it's supposed to be?
So two things I'll say. There's a difference between public and private, right, depending on what the private is. Are you talking about a main line or a service line?
Service, well, a main line, it's a 6-inch line that runs, it feeds the neighborhood.
And so there are
It-
different requirements we have when construction is done. And if it's too shallow and it's on us, we will lower it. Oftentimes, we also find in cities where other people privately come and they do grading and things, and they will make what used to be a much deeper line a more shallow over
And,
time.
and I've heard that excuse, and there's a fence in there that's probably been there 40 years, and the trees are grown up around it. That line has been there
Do you
for a
know the
long time.
specific location?
I believe we've discussed this in the past.
We did, yeah, I've got
Yeah,
notes of it.
and I've not seen anything done about it. Where the line crosses from Sunny Lane Road, that's in a public easement. That portion is too shallow. It's so shallow, we can't put a sidewalk there.
Has it been something that's been graded over time without
No.
looking at it?
No. The curb has not been lowered, and it's just barely at the curb level.
Without the specifics in front of me, we would have construction, records of when it was originally put in, so we'd have to pull those records to see.
Well, I know there's 2 gas lines that run through that neighborhood that are probably 6 to 8 inches deep. What's the standard for burying a gas line? What depth is this?
Depends on how big the line is and what type of line.
You're certainly an attorney. I got to give you
Well,
that.
well, because I probably know a lot of things, so there's a lot of differences between what you're doing, and you can't just make overarching statements to encompass all things.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course.
But I
So,
made note of that address. and we
I'm
wanna go there.
interested in
Yes,
getting these lines buried at a correct depth.
We are
Now,
too.
now the problem is, if the city comes in and condemns that line for being too shallow, all the customers on that line are going to suffer from lack of gas service. So it's kind of a rock and a hard place. But it's not safe the way it is. And so far, all we've gotten is a guy to come out with a truck, look at it and go, yep, that's too shallow, and he leaves.
Is that a home that's at 405 South?
No,
Sunny
that's a
Lane?
commercial property.
So what's the name of the commercial property?
Sonny's Auto Trim is the business that's there.
Okay.
But the line runs south of, it runs on the fence line. It's the property line. And no, it has not been graded. It has not been lowered. What I suspect is that line was put in there by a subcontractor, and they did horizontal boring rather than putting in, when they were replacing the original steel line, they went to that orange plastic, and they used horizontal boring with that, and they put it too shallow. And we've been complaining about it for 2.5 years, and we've not
We'd have
gotten
to
any
look at it on a
response.
fence
So,
line that's
so
on
right
that
now,
way.
your track record is not sitting very well with me. We can't finish our sidewalk because your gas line is in the way, and that's in the Sunny Lane right of way, and that's a public easement.
Is the natural gas account in the Sunny Auto, is that whose name the gas service would be?
There
in
is
that
an
property?
account there, but that line runs east. I'm sorry, that runs west from Sunny Lane, and it runs the length of the block. It serves the whole block. So that's,
Is there a, I mean, both of these, both of our different examples here is there going to be a contact or somebody to go and do these, to resolve these things instead of, that you call, private
Well,
people, different people
If
call
you
out
want-
to try to do
If
this?
you want me to look up the issue in the village, we can.
Oh, and we don't,
call
we don't need to
and
worry
check
about the
that
bill,
if-
we don't need to worry about the village.
Okay, I
The
didn't
village,
know if
village
if we
finally
need to
got done,
report back
yep.
on the village, we can do that, but we can make some calls and we can report on this 405 South Sunny Lane and see whose account
But,
that is
right.
and report back on that
And
as well.
it's, again, it's not about a single one. It's about finding out how the franchise agreement is going to work. Because here are some of the examples that we kind of gave you, and each one of them that we look at is nothing happens.
They're all factually very specific, so, but we do have a community relations manager that would be your contact just in general that you could call if someone has a question and would be able to know who to contact internally.
Yeah. So,
Okay,
And then I would just point out, just to make sure you all are aware, the franchise does expire in July, is when that expires. I did talk to Beverly with the election cycle and discussing that, for a short period of time, we could keep that open and still remit, technically without the election passing, we should not be collecting those dollars from customers, because as you all are aware, it's a collect and remit, so every dollar we collect of a franchise fee from our customers is turned around to the city. So it's just a collect and remit. So I did let her know that to the extent we had a short period of time between, if we couldn't make an election prior to the expiration, that we would continue collecting those for a short period of time.
business
And
as usual.
just so we're clear, this is technically a July election, but if we were to host it, it would fall on July 4th. The Tuesday, July 4th would be the election. Is that right, Beverly?
August.
So we're moving it to August 8th.
The election board has to be open for early voting, and because of that, the election board employees would have to work on the 4th of July if we did a July election. The day of voting is not, but early voting is, so they'd have to be open. So to accommodate them, they actually called me and asked to see would that be appropriate and acceptable. And then I reached out to ONG, and they said that that would be fine for 1 month.
All right.
So another thing I didn't see in here is ONG paying for the election?
Yes.
And I think that should be it.
That's it? All right.
I have something to say. Thank you so much for being here, you guys. Again, I am quite new, so I did want to, first of all, thank you guys so much for being here. ONG, of course, is something that we cannot live without, so I appreciate you guys paying attention to our concerns. Knowing now the timeline, I think that that's something that we would be able to discuss. And I think communication and building that relationship is probably where we would really benefit from. So getting to know her, hopefully being able to address those personal issues or some of those individual issues. I know you guys will be able to do that for us. And hopefully, thank goodness for Councilman Dean, who asked all the right questions, and we can always depend on him to be able to keep an eye out for us as well, although I know that you guys are here to do the right thing. But I think with speaking, I'd love to actually speak with you and meet with you in more in depth, so then that way we can get to know each other and hopefully start addressing some of these issues for some of our citizens, because I know you guys do a great job. So thank you guys for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you.
What? Fix it. Okay. All right, moving on. We're at item A. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, so at this point, we have a contract that is not specific enough for us to know. And we have projects that are going to be 100,000 or more that we already know about coming up. So my thought is that we wait till the next meeting that we have an answer or a better specification on it, because it wouldn't take long for them to look at their maps to figure out how many times they cross I-40.
Yeah.
And come back and tell us that they're going to cover this one and not this one, because this one's in private easement, and we all agree, and we have something documented. So, again, I-40 was not there whenever our easements went in, so we should not
Right.
have to pay for it like we did last time.
So, City Attorney, are we going to be on timeline for an August 8th election if we postpone this 2 weeks?
Putting it on this one was making it a little bit tight. We have to have everything submitted at least 60 days before, so perhaps we could do June. Even when I submitted it the first time, I thought we had enough leeway, and they actually needed excessive. So if we do it one more continuance, it'd have to be May 15th. But I think what they need is specific addresses, specific what's going to happen on I-40, exactly where is it, because you can't talk in generalities. You have to look at each property record and easement and what's there and how they acquired it, and that's going to make the determination. But unless they know the exact places, I think it will be very difficult for them to give an answer.
So we could move ahead with ordinance 1417, and then when the final issues are hammered out in the contract, then assign the contract. Is that's doable?
Yes, we can do that.
So do this.
However, if we don't like the contract,
We
then-
don't sign the contract.
Well, no, we already have the election coming. So, I mean, you can't do that without having this stuff done, and it would, you know. And again, I called and tried to talk to everybody, and everybody was going down to, I think, Ida Bell or somewhere last meeting.
Yeah.
So, again, you can't call the election whenever we don't know what we're electing on.
Right.
I think we could perhaps put it on the next agenda once again and see, would that give you enough time, Dustin, to be able to look at all the specifics?
Only specifics, and I'm sorry to do this, is the mayor has a great thing, and not, you know, but the only ones that truly make a huge difference to the city is we know for a fact that we're going to be moving gas lines, and all it would take me is about 2 minutes to look at your gas line map and ask you about these, you know, whichever
Where it
ones
crosses
cross.
under I-40.
I'd say that would probably be difficult for you to come in and look at all of our gas, all of our systems and how our gas lines are. But if you have a specific location where you know.
Hey, sir, just,
Center
yeah, right,
lane
so.
at I-40.
Okay, does the other two understand this, is that you have the maps. You know how many times you cross the interstate between, and it's gonna be Crystal Creek, which is just to the east of, that's where they stopped the construction, and it goes over to Bryant. And so, in that distance, you just look for those crossings, and we get an answer on those crossings. And like I said, maybe you have one main line that you have a private easement from the beginning. Sure, you don't pay for that one, but the ones that we have these, let's just bring those things in, or have your guys come, because it is a time crunch. I would like for you guys to get it done.
Come in and say, there may be projects down this highway, and you want to know ahead of time, anything that happens in the future.
This isn't a maybe a project. This is gonna be a project.
All of I-40, like,
I would say let's just go ahead and vote on this evening.
and we can bring someone from engineering in, I think, to talk through what they're aware of. If it's something major and it's working with ODOT and other industries, we should know of these projects coming forward. We may have already done some background work, that me finding out tonight as I'm stepping in here as the attorney of all the operations projects that are going on, it's difficult for me to answer the specific questions.
Does our community do you understand what we're asking for? Yes, absolutely. Okay, and can we get that done in the next 2 weeks before our next meeting, so we have an answer? Because if not, we're not gonna make it in August.
I don't think we're gonna be able to make promises in the agreement that changes that.
Why would this be difficult? Either one, you're in the right of way and the easement, or you're not in the easement. This isn't a rocket science type of thing. It's either one, it applies, or it doesn't. Do you remember how you said that the attorney should be able to answer that question for us? You can't answer the question. I mean, again, if it's in the right of way, then yes, you guys do it. And if it's not if it's in a private easement, then we do it. We understand that.
Attorney, I cannot answer exactly
Right.
what all of our pipe is everywhere.
I'm not asking you to do that.
All
Do you
right,
understand?
all right, okay, hold it. All right, that's enough. Look, we can approve this ordinance and then not sign the contract until we get the answers that we know. Even though it's scheduled for election, we can still work this out. We have plenty of time to work this out. Let's move forward with this. Let's vote on this. We have a motion and a second. Let's vote on it. And we're just not gonna sign the existing contract that's presented to us tonight. We'll give the city attorney time to walk through it and consider some of these objections that we're talking about here. Can you do that, Beverly?
Yes, I can certainly do that, but it kind of comes down to the specifics on each location. As they said, if it's something that they had pre-existing that they bought from somebody, whether it be a long, long time ago, if they paid to be there and they had the right, they will not pay. If it's ours and they're in our right of way, then they'll pay. And I sent out examples to Councilman Dean.
Okay.
So it will depend on every location, and you'd have to look at each spot along the way.
We're specifically asking about crossing I-40 because we know that's coming in about 5-6 years, and that's why we're being specific about that piece. But that term, the terminology would also apply to that, and I'm satisfied that we can work that, so. All right, let's move forward. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Let's take the vote. Councilman Finch.
Aye.
Councilman Gandy.
Aye.
Councilman Brown.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
No.
Mayor votes aye, the motion carries. Let's move on to item B. Resolution number 0501-2023A, calling and holding a special election in the city of Dell City for the purpose of granting a non-exclusive franchise to Oklahoma Natural Gas, a division of One Gas Incorporated, a franchise for the installation, operation, and maintenance of a gas distribution system in the city of Dell City, and the selling of gas therein for a term of 25 years. Authorize mayor to endorse same, direct staff accordingly. Do I hear a motion?
So, we just approved the contract in NA,
Not its final form.
granting a non-exclusive franchise for this part. I don't understand what you just approved there.
Okay. Do I hear a motion on item B?
I'll make a motion to approve 0501-2023A as written, authorize mayor to endorse same, direct staff accordingly.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Take the vote. Councilman Finch.
Aye.
Councilman Brown.
Aye.
Councilman Gandy.
No.
Councilman Dean.
No.
Mayor votes aye. The motion carries. Item number C, discussion, consideration, possible action to approve with modifications, or deny a special election proclamation wherein the mayor of the city of Dale City calls a special election to be held on August 8th, 2023, for the purpose of the election by registered qualified electors for granting a non-exclusive franchise to Oklahoma Natural Gas, a division of One Gas Incorporated, for the installation, operation, and maintenance of a gas distribution system in the city of Dale City, and the selling of gas therein for a term of 25 years, and specifying polling places. Authorize mayor to endorse same, direct staff accordingly. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve as written, authorize mayor to endorse same, direct staff accordingly.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Yes, so once again, in item A, with the ordinance.
We're done with item A.
I'm sorry, I'm discussing item C.
Thank
because-
you.
But, Madam Counselor, is there any way to keep from signing the contract as it's in item A?
The items,
Because we've approved it, and it says to have the mayor endorse the same. So with the way that it's been done, is there any way, any of these different thoughts or questions or clarifications, is there any reason for them to do this?
the reason to approve and have a special election proclamation is so that we can have the election. The items that are going to the people are, do we want to continue on with a 25-year agreement with ONG, or do we not? In the election, they are not reading every word of our ordinance, so I believe that we could possibly massage this, and what's in the packet about what the proclamation is and what the resolution is that we're going to continue on with this relationship. So I think that you could be able to do this, and we could still modify within a short time the ordinance. But we would want to get that on file. This is basically to allow us to call an election.
Mm-hmm. All right.
But we didn't authorize a modification to A. We approved it.
So we're on item C.
I know,
where
Mayor,
we're-
but
Where we're going to
again,
do the special election.
again,
That's the question.
that's the question. But again, for everybody to know is the only way to at all possibly slow down this train that we have now made a mistake on in item A by trying to rush this thing through is to stop one of these two.
To stop what?
To stop item C or B.
We-
Item A, go ahead. Yeah.
If we don't approve item C, so the question is in item A, we approved it as it was written. There's no modification there. As it's written, it says ordinance number 1417, granting to Oklahoma Natural Gas, a Division of One Gas, a non-exclusive franchise for the installation, operation, and maintenance of a gas distribution system in the city of Del City and the selling of gas therein for a term of 25 years. Authorize mayor to endorse same. If
So
we
that
don't-
says we are granting a franchise. That does not dictate the terms of the franchise.
Which item dictates the terms of the franchise, and at what point do we
The actual contract
authorize?
dictates the terms.
And so which of these items actually allows that contract to be reviewed by council, the council approving of that contract? That's the question.
I understand.
Okay.
I understand. City attorney, you're talking about massaging the contract. That's what we're talking about, is making the contract work.
Councilman Gandy does have a good point when he said that it's supposed to be approve or approve with modifications or deny, and I believe that the motion was for approve, although we did speak about the modifications, so perhaps we need to clarify what the approval is to approve with modifications on item A. I think that that's what Councilman Dean,
Are you suggesting that we go back and rerun item A and approve with modifications?
with modifications, yes.
I'm okay with that. That proposal, so we're gonna retract that vote. Now we're getting in some uncharted water.
I think that we would be modifying the motion on Part A and the.
Approve with modifications.
I think,
We should have made that approve with modifications, is what you're saying.
correct.
Okay, let's go back and look at that. We're back at item A, and I will call for a motion, and hopefully the motion will be approved with modification. You want to make that motion,
Unless you want to modify your motion, I mean,
Pam?
Yes, I would like to do that. I would like to amend the item A, ordinance number 1417, to say that
Approve with modification.
approve with modifications and authorize mayor to endorse same.
Second.
I'm not used to writing CB down there. I'll have to get into that.
She would like you to, Kyle, you were the one who seconded, so you need to second it.
second.
Yes. So that'll be Kyle Gandy. All right, we have a motion and a second. The motion is now to approve with modifications. Everybody good? Let's take the vote. Councilman Finch.
Aye.
Councilman Gandy.
Aye.
Councilman Brown.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. The motion carries. It is now approved with modification. It's like pulling teeth. We've got to backtrack to item C now. And item C was discussion, consideration, possible action to approve with modifications, or deny a special election proclamation wherein the mayor of the city of Dale City calls for a special election to be held on August 8th, 2023, for the purpose of the election by registered qualified electors for granting a non-exclusive franchise to Oklahoma Natural Gas, a division of One Gas Incorporated, for the installation, operation, and maintenance of a gas distribution system in the city of Dale City, and the selling of gas therein for a term of 25 years, and specifying polling places. Authorize mayor to endorse same, direct staff accordingly. We previously had a motion by Pam Finch. Does your motion stand?
Yes, it does.
We have a second by Claudia Brown. Does your second stand?
Yes, it does.
Let's call for, is there any discussion? Let's call for a vote. Councilman Finch? Councilman Brown?
Aye.
Councilman Gandy?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. The motion carries. Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am?
I would just like to say that we want to be partners, we have been partners, and this just seems to be a nice, pleasant conversation and understanding. I will tell you that we started working on this in November, and we're in May, and now we're hitting crunch time. So let's be prudent and take care of the matters. We can't make decisions in our company, just like it's difficult here overnight. So we need to really watch our
We'll be in touch. We'll
And
be
I,
in touch.
and I think Mr. Hauck, our city manager, he's fully aware of what's going on here, and I'm sure that he would be happy to do it. You don't need to meet with all of us. He knows the issues, and he'll take good care of us. And so that way we can expedite it on our side. You don't wanna have to-
The city manager and I will make ourselves available. Thank you. Okay, let's move on. We're going back to item number 8, donation by Parker Brothers for Armed Forces Day and Shriners Parade. What? I can't hear you. Queso. She's hungry. Let's finish 8 and then we'll go to queso. Discussion, consideration, possible action to accept or decline a sponsorship check from the Parker Brothers Roofing Company in the amount of $670.94 for the annual Armed Forces Day Parade and Shriners Parade on Saturday, May 6, 2023 at 10 a.m. Declare, deny a public purpose. Do I hear a motion?
I'm going to make a motion that we accept a sponsorship check from Parker Brothers Roofing Company in the amount of $670.94 for the annual Armed Forces Day and Shriners Parade. Declare a public purpose.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Take the vote. Councilman Gandy.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Finch. Councilman Brown.
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. The motion carries. Let's take a 10-minute recess and enjoy some queso. We have a hungry new council person up here.
And thank you for the donation.
Yes, thank you for the donation.
Very much. Thank you
Queso
very
time.
much.
Walter, you gonna have some queso? Yeah. Yes, he was. Everybody ready? Let's resume the council meeting. We are now at item number 9. Donation by Walmart of seed packets on behalf of the Park and Beautification Committee. Discussion, consideration, possible acts to accept or decline a donation of seed packets in the monetary amount of $2,000 from Walmart located at 5401 Tinker Diagonal Street, Del City, Oklahoma. This donation will be used in the biannual seed shares, Armed Forces Day Parade, flower beds, and community gardens. Declare or deny a public purpose. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept as written and declare it a public purpose so that there is a flower on every corner of Del City.
Second.
Would you take it as a compliment if I said you were a CD person? I mean that in the best possible way. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Take the vote. Councilman Finch.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Brown.
Aye.
Councilman Gandy.
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. The motion carries. Item number 10 is monthly update from the Chief of Police. Discussion, consideration, possible action to approve receiving a monthly update from the Chief of Police. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion that we have a monthly update from the Chief of Police.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Take the vote. Councilman Brown.
Aye.
Councilman Gandy.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Finch.
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. The motion carries. Chief Berger, what do you got for us? Are you enjoying those new pickups?
They are correct. Absolutely wonderful.
Good.
I picked up 2 more today up at the Outfitters, so they're just finishing up on the last 2, and they'll all be on the streets here very shortly.
They look good. They look sharp out there.
We've had a very busy month. We started off and done some in-service training here. We've done our semi-annual pistol shotgun qualifications. We've done some LEDT training for the driver's training. We actually got some of those trucks out there and see how they performed, and got the guys that are going to be driving some of those trucks out there some time on the trucks, because they do handle quite differently than the sedans they've been driving or the SUVs. So that was much needed for those two. I know you mentioned the Rose State earlier. Thank you for that. That was a pretty trying time. Midwest City got flooded with 911 calls when that incident happened, and they rolled over to us. So we knew right away with the 911 coming in what was going on. Sent officers over there to assist them. Once things calmed down a little bit, we were able to help them and go through some of the buildings there on the campus and secure and make sure everything was clear on those. So we'll reach out to them anytime we can on that. Flock cameras, if you haven't noticed, they're starting to go up around the city. We still lack about 4 of them. They sent me a notice this morning. They're looking at site surveys on the last 4, but we've got the other up. We've been getting quite a big response out of them. We've had several good recoveries out of them from stolen vehicles, wanted people. Without too much detail, we had one here a couple weeks ago that was an Uber driver was robbed at Knife Point and Kansas, I believe it was.
Oh,
Some
good. I was going to
juveniles.
say not Del City.
No.
Thank
and
you.
Stole the car and that, and ended up here in Del City. So they didn't come here to go to church, but we were able to get them off the street and recovered and get the property back.
Very good.
And we've had some others just recently with stolen cars and property returned. It's a pretty quick hit on these returns, so the officers are jumping right on it. So, working very good. We put the Flock Transparency Portal is on our website service now. If you go to the Del City page, the police department page on the online services, you can see the transparency portal for Flock, and that says exactly what we do with it and what we record and how long it's recorded and what it's used for. So just to be transparent with the public on that. I met with the commander in charge of the OSI, Office of Special Investigations at Tinker, just to build that relationship, to work with them, make sure that we can work with them in any conjunction. I showed them our flock cameras, have them access to our flock cameras too, because they do a lot of search for like AWOL people and stuff from the military and other investigations, and we want to be a part of that where we can help them out too. Metro Tech is having their graduation from the Cleat Basic Police Academy this Friday, and I have one graduating in that. We had 2 in the academy. One actually got hurt here about 2 weeks ago during the defensive tactics. So once he recovers, we'll get him back and finished up in that program. But we do have one, Zachary Hong, who will be graduating this coming Friday. Looking forward to getting him out of there and on the street. We're all set and ready to go on the parade. There's been a lot of work on that. Brittany and everybody involved in the cities have put a lot of hours into that, and we're hoping for a very successful and safe parade for everybody. I have the department policies that, we've been working on for a long time. I finally made those public. They're on our website also. If you go to the police department page and you go down to the department forms and links, if there's a tab up there at the top of that, you can go down to the bottom of that page, click on it, and you have access as the public to any of our department policies. If you want to know what the department policy is on a specific item, there it is for you to look at. So it's a big move for us to do that. That's all I got. Answer any questions?
Did I miss, where are we at with the body cameras? Did I miss that part?
Nope. Body cameras, we have them all in. We have logged them on and got them onto the server and everything as of today. We have training set up for them on the 12th. Officers have been doing some online training right now, looking at some videos and training, and then we will have actual online training on them on the 12th of this month. On the 13th will be the first day that they're on the streets and recording. So, looking forward to that.
Excellent.
You can say no to this, but would you just address the Southeast 44th CVS issue that was on social media, if you can say anything, just to put hearts at ease on that?
Sure. That came up on social media real fast. And if you didn't see it, there's a short video that a citizen took of a male subject in more of a stocking mask and carrying what looked to be a weapon, rifle, and headed toward the front of the CVS. He never made it into the CVS. He was in the parking lot. He actually started south of 44th in Oklahoma City, pointing at whatever he was doing over there. Oklahoma City police got the call originally. They responded, then we started getting calls and reports of it. Our officers arrived just about the time Oklahoma City was taking him into custody. It was a male subject that had a lot of mental health problems. It was not a real gun, it was an airsoft gun. He never made it in to our CVS. He was only in our section a very short time before he went back across the street where Oklahoma City encountered him. But he was taken in custody for mental health issues.
Thank you.
All right.
I've tried to defend some of the social media to put some of the aspects of it. And of course, I got grammar checked today, so I had to go back in and correct my grammar. But it's always good that the citizens know the details, especially in situations like that. Because one guy was saying, oh, it was AK-47. Just like, okay, no, it wasn't.
No, airsoft gun. And it looked real. From what I saw in the short video, it looked real. And I'm very thankful that nothing serious happened out of it. So,
Just thankful that the guy wasn't shot.
yes,
Because he could have
very
been.
much.
Those usually have orange tips, don't they? Had he doctored that or covered that?
I didn't get a close look at it. I couldn't
Okay.
tell you. Just from the short blip I saw on the video, I would have thought it was real.
Yeah,
So,
okay, very good. Thank you, Chief.
you bet.
Let's move on to item number 11, FEMA Center for Domestic Preparedness Training, out-of-state travel training for 2 police officers. Discussion, consideration, possible action to approve or deny the out-of-state travel and training for 2 police officers, Lieutenant Kyle Preston and Officer Brandon Eckelberry, to attend the FEMA Center for Domestic Preparedness Training. FEMA will pay for the coursework, airfare, ground transportation, lodging, and meals for the duration of the training. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion that we approve the travel and training as written.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? They're going to feed Kyle Preston?
What I've done here, and I'll be bringing more of this to you in the future. I recently started a ERT team, emergency response team. This is different. A lot of people think SWAT and tactical. That's not this. That's not my purpose with this. An ERT team would be going to natural disasters. We have tornadoes. We've gone to other places and just been previous tornadoes. People, searches like that. That's what this team is designed to do. No crowd control if we were to have a crowd control issue, searching for people, going to the tornado scenes, whatever. That's what these guys are going to be training to do. So this is a great program, and actually Tracy Powell with our Human Resources turned me on to this, and it's a place down there in Alabama. It's Federal Center, and they offer all kinds of training like this. And we have a 7-man team for the ERT, and I want to get them all through very similar training, and there's a lot more Swiftwater training that's local that I can get to. I'll be working with the fire chief and also with Oklahoma City on that, but there's several different areas that I want to go with this team, and that's just kind of an idea where I'm headed.
I love it. Very good. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Take the vote. Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Gandy.
Aye.
Councilman Brown.
Aye.
Councilman Finch. Mayor votes aye. The motion carries. Item number 12 is surplus items. Discussion, consideration, possible action to declare, deny the items listed in Exhibit B to the council agenda as a surplus to the city's needs. Authorize final disposition of these items as approved by the acting city manager. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion, we declare the items in Exhibit B on the council agenda surplus to the city's needs. Authorize final disposition of these items as approved by the city manager.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I got a question. Is there a way, a lot of this stuff seemed like it was trash or small things or things less than like $100 or $50. Is there any way, can you guys throw away anything, or are we limited to
Couple of rules on that. If there is electricity running through it, you have to approve it. And if it has a tag on it at any time, for example, if in the previous 25 years someone inventoried a pencil, once it's in inventory, it's got to leave inventory in or out. So now we have taken it to where if they are negligible, things under $50 is our threshold, those won't come back on here, but these are all things that are ancient in nature. So because they've had an asset tag on them from years and years ago, we have to list it officially.
Okay. Any further discussion? Take the vote. Councilman Gandy.
Aye.
Councilman Finch.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Brown.
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. The motion carries. Item number 13 is mutual cooperation agreement with Oklahoma County Bryant Avenue resurfacing. Discussion, consideration, possible action to approve with modifications, or deny street repairs to be completed by Oklahoma County for the reconstruction of Bryant Avenue from Southeast 29th Street to Southeast 44th Street. The project will be a rebuild of the asphalt road in the amount of $145,858. Authorize mayor to endorse same, direct staff accordingly. Do I hear a motion?
make a motion that we approve repairs to be completed by Oklahoma County for the reconstruction of Bryant Avenue from Southeast 29th to Southeast 44th Street. The project would be a rebuild of the asphalt road in the amount of $145,858. Authorize mayor to endorse same, direct staff accordingly.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Take the vote. Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Brown.
Aye.
Councilman Kyle Gandy.
Aye.
Councilman Finch.
Aye.
It's like naming your kids. You know, you have to go through the whole roll. Sorry. Mayor votes aye. The motion carries. Move on to item number 14, Labor Max Staffing, temporary seasonal employees. Discussion, consideration, possible action to approve with modifications, or deny a contract with Labor Max Staffing to provide temporary seasonal employees for fiscal year 2023-2024. Authorize mayor to endorse same, direct staff accordingly. Public Works will utilize the seasonal employees for general labor in the Parks Department. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve temporary seasonal employees for fiscal year 2023, 2024. Authorize mayor to endorse same, direct staff accordingly.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Take the vote. Councilman Finch.
Aye.
Councilman Gandy.
Aye.
Councilman Brown.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. The motion carries. Skip on down to item number 16, preparation of annual financial statements for fiscal year 2023. Discussion, consideration, possible action to approve with modifications, or deny engaging Crawford and Associates, PC, a CPA, an accounting firm specializing in serving governmental entities to prepare the annual financial statements for fiscal year ending June 30, 2023, not to exceed $42,000. Authorize mayor to endorse same, direct staff accordingly. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion that we approve engaging Crawford and Associates, PCA, CPA, an accounting firm specializing in serving governmental entities to prepare the annual financial statements for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023, not to exceed $42,000. Authorize mayor to endorse same. Direct staff accordingly.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Take the vote. Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Gandy.
Aye.
Councilman Brown.
Aye.
Councilman Finch.
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. The motion carries. Before we get into item number 17, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the council, or recess the council meeting, and move to the Dale City Municipal Services Authority.
Make a motion, we recess to DCMSA.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Take the vote. Councilman Gandy.
Aye.
Councilman Brown.
Aye.
Councilman Finch.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. We are now recessed to the Dale City Municipal Services Authority. Melissa, would you call the roll, please?
Trustee Gandy.
Here.
Trustee Brown.
Here.
Trustee Finch.
Here.
Trustee Dean.
Here.
And Chairman Eason.
Chairman is here. Is there any public input on non-agenda items? Is there anybody that'd like to speak to the DCMSA on non-agenda items? Seeing none. Any trustees have anything? Seeing none, move on to the manager's report, item 4.
Already given?
Item 5 is a consent docket. Discussion, consideration, possible action to approve the following items by unanimous consent with one motion. Item A is minutes of April 17, 2023, regular meeting of DCMSA. Approve the minutes of the regular meeting of DCMSA of April 17, 2023. Item B is a budget amendment. Approve the budget amendment for fiscal year 2022-2023 as shown in Exhibit A to the DCMSA agenda. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion, we approve items A and B as written.
Second. I want my button checked.
I'm not touching that line. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Take the vote. Trustee Gandy.
Aye.
Trustee Finch.
Aye.
Trustee Dean. Trustee Brown.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The motion carries. Move on to item number 6. Invitation to bid number 0217, Advanced Metering Infrastructure, AMI, water meters. We'll take these separate. We'll do item A first, public hearing. Discussion, consideration, possible action to approve or deny holding a public hearing regarding ITB 0217, Advanced Metering Infrastructure, water meters for electronic water meters and readers for the city to improve the accuracy of the consumption of water. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion that we hold a public hearing regarding ITB 0217, Advanced Metering Infrastructure, water meters for electronic water meters and readers for the city to improve the accuracy of the consumption of water, requested by Public Works Director Mike Hatfield.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Take the vote. Trustee Brown.
Aye.
Trustee Finch.
Aye.
Trustee Dean.
Aye.
Trustee Gandy.
Aye.
The chairman votes aye. The public hearing portion is now open. Who is going to present this? Mike, are you presenting, or is it Craig?
Hatfield has got your name on it.
It- Say that again, Bruce. Bruce Beaver. Okay,
And Mr. Dan Harden with IUS.
okay.
They can answer the very technical questions.
Before we get technical, if you can just give us an overview of why we're doing this as a city, and then I'll go into the financial, and then we can go into specifics.
Alrighty. This is bringing our older meters up to current standards. We have possibly some meters dating back to the 60s.
That's where I was
And
going.
a
We
few in
have
the
them that are
70s.
quite old.
Only a few in the 60s, but we have some in the 70s. But as they're like a car, they wear out. So this will bring them up to new standards. The newer meters we're looking at are non-moving parts, so they do not wear out like the current ones we have. These are also automated readers, or meters, excuse me, that basically they will send a signal back to City Hall, and they actually will get a read in hourly, or it'll tell you basically how many gallons you use every hour.
Okay.
So we can be able to see people that have leaks and know when they had the leak.
You can set an alarm, so
Well,
if,
yes, there's
if
alarms,
there's a
there's
sudden
a-
spike in usage at a house, if a person's water pipe freezes and bursts, we'll
Customer
be able
portal.
to monitor that.
There's a customer portal that comes along with this to where each homeowner can either set alarms for so much use or different parameters they can set for so much usage or fast usage, I believe. There's a lot of different aspects that will be really nice to have.
Another advantage is, instead of having 4 meter readers out there, we can reassign 3 of them to, say, Parks and Rec, and just have 1 meter reader. And
Right.
we'll be getting the accurate readings, not dependent on the guy going out and having to move a brush pile to find the meter to dig in and get it. So that's a tremendous advantage and a savings in manpower.
I would have loved to have had these during the ice storm.
Plus, the accuracy. That's a big factor for the city, because we're experiencing a lot more water is going out than is being accounted for.
Correct.
Yes.
Do you know how many other cities use this particular program or something similar to?
I do not. That's gonna be more these are worldwide. It's not, there's different companies, different configurations, but,
Be similar across the board, this new, okay.
This is a 20-year program, is that right?
that's the goal, is to have them now. They're gonna be able to explain this more on each.
shaking their head yes on the 20.
Okay, 20
let's-
years.
Let's go ahead and bring them up.
So,
Okay. Who's going to go first, Dan or Bruce? Okay.
Hello, my name's Dan Harden. I'm the president of Innovative Utility Solutions. So yeah, feel free to ask any questions. I know Craig had sent us 3 questions originally before this meeting. I'll go ahead and address those. One of the questions was, what happens when this goes from, since it is a cellular-based technology, the radio information, what happens when it goes from 4G to 5G to 6G to 7G? Is it out of commission? The answer to that is no. The only thing that changes as we're upgrading to the generational networks is with your cell phones. This operates on a network called Cat-M1, which is a lower level of cellular technology. So it's the same that police, fire, and military use. It's a much lower level because all we're sending is little bits of data. So it could go to 20G, 30G, it doesn't matter. This will stay the same.
Okay.
So it's completely different than the typical ones you would use for your cell phone. So we have no anticipation of that ever going away. It's actually the same technology they're using on the little scooters that you see in downtown areas, dog collars, little bits of information. So that will stay standard for the next 20 to 30 years.
Okay.
The next question was in regards to any legacy costs. So I wasn't really sure what you guys were asking as far as legacy costs, but the way we bid this is a complete 20-year package. So the way Smart Earth Technologies does their pricing is they go out into the cellular market and they buy the data in bulk. And so we get a huge discount on buying all this data, so we can price you a 20-year system without any additional cost for the next 20 years. So we're buying all that data, all the software, hosting, everything in bulk, so that way there's no additional cost for the system the way we've bid it, which includes integration into your billing software and the consumer portal. The only other additional cost that may arise is if you ever wanted us to take our software and integrate it into a GIS software or a work order software, any additional software integrations, that would be a separate price which we would discuss beforehand.
So the legacy question was, when we get your meters that are, 4.5 is the version, you come out with 6.0, 7.0, 8.5, you're not going to have to send us a fee because now you're 7 generations ahead and we're still on this same 20-year plan.
Right, so no, there will not, that includes all additional upgrades and features that come with it for the next 20 years.
Our endpoints, I apologize. Our endpoints are two-way connectivity, so we can actually send over-the-air updates to them. So if a new feature comes out, we can send an update over the air, upgrade that at no charge to the city. So for the next 20 years, any upgrades that we come out with will absolutely be included.
Yeah, very similar to your cell phone when you get Apple that sends you, hey, you have an update, same thing, except we just push it out to the whole system automatically.
Are you going to slow down our meter? That wasn't Apple, Joe.
Oh, God. Yeah, if you start using them too much, we're going to slow them down. And then
So this includes all the hardware, software, it's a turnkey project.
turnkey project installation and everything.
You guys go out and install them.
Yep, we have a crew.
I don't, if you don't want to. But we have guys.
Thank you.
Yes, but we will have a crew come out. They'll manage the project as well as I'll manage the project as well. Go out and do the installation, test the network. The Smart Earth people will be on site quite frequently, working with the billing software to make sure that integrates. So yeah, it's a very drawn-out process that we make sure we accomplish every step along the way.
One of the questions I had also is to make sure that you guys will be on hand and available, not for just a short term for like a year, excuse me, but you guys would be available without any extra fees for customer service, for any questions, for billing issues. You guys would be pretty handy. And would you guys be direct, or are we calling a 1-800 number for that?
All of it, yeah.
Just, I live here in Oklahoma. I live in Enid, so I am an hour and a half away. I come down and see Craig and these guys quite frequently. And once this thing's going, you're going to see probably even more of me, probably more than you want to see. But I will be on hand during the entire project, overseeing it. It'll be Dan's project, but Dan and I will be in it together. And then as far as, there is a chat window in our software, so anybody that walks into the software has a chat window. There's a 1-877 number in there that you can call, but those lines are manned as well. And Craig and everybody, all the guys have my phone number, they can call me at any time. So absolutely, and there's no charge for any of that.
Right,
So
yeah.
once it's built into the project, it's in for forever. And
Yeah, so there's multiple levels of support. There's IUS support, there's SET support. SET will have a project manager that will be assigned to you guys. And then again, we have customer service people that are in California and they're available either via chat box or an 800 number. So there's multiple levels of being able to get somebody to help you, and there's no additional charge for that for the full 20 years. So that kind of leads into the third question was, will we train your meter technicians on how to maintain the system? And the answer is yes. So not only will we train the meter technicians, we'll train billing clerks how to do billing software and integrate everything. We can do that on site or via the web. So if you get new meter technicians or a new billing clerk and they need to be retrained, we again can come out and do it again at no additional charge. We want the system to work for you guys for 20 years because it benefits us as well to have happy customers tell other cities how well the system is working. So yes, all of that is included in the 20-year cost.
So I assume this has some sort of battery in the system.
Correct.
And what's the estimated lifespan of that battery?
So
and what happens in the event the battery goes out before we get to it to change it?
Okay, so if the battery on the radio goes out, these are the 10 and 10 or 15 and 5?
Well, they are 10 and 10 years.
They are the 10 and 10. So it is a 10-year full replacement warranty, and then we warranty the remaining 10 years at a prorated rate. So for example, if they go bad at year 18, there'll be a small cost just to replace the entire radio. But the nice thing is within the software, it tells you the battery life of every unit in the system. So it's not like at year 17, they're all just gonna go kaput and you're out.
What's
You'll
the
be able-
projected life of, just say, a generic meter? What do you expect? How much life expectancy?
One thing I want everybody to understand is the meter and the endpoint are not running. I apologize.
Sorry, there are people listening at home.
I understand. One of the things that the meter and the endpoint are not running off a battery. What the battery does is it has a capacitor that it trickle cell charges over 20 years. So when our smartphones and things like that, our electronic devices die, it's from the constant on-off and that hitting of the battery every time. So the capacitor just the battery trickle cell charges that capacitor. So the capacitor is what takes a hit. So that's how these batteries can last 20 years.
Okay, I
And so-
understand.
So we expect 16 to 22 years, depending on the how often we're cycling it. And again, you can actually pull these radios more than twice a day to cause the battery life to go down, but standard is twice a day.
So what happens when it does die? Does the water shut off?
No,
Is
no,
the
no.
customer out of water, or
Nope.
it just stops reading?
Nope, so two separate units. So the water meter will continue to flow the water. The radio
Okay.
just pulls that reading every hour, and then twice a day it'll send that information back to the utility. If the battery on the radio dies, the meter will still keep reading water. It'll
So
still keep
that data will still be there?
It'll still be there. So once you go out and hook up a new radio or restart the radio, whatever
It'll
happens
catch
to
up.
it, it catches back up. So you're not gonna lose any water revenue.
Okay. Very good.
So you have a 10 and 10. You have a 10 and 10 warranty on this, so the first 10 years completely, no matter what happens, it gets switched out. The next 10 years is prorated. What happens though if there's tampering?
Well, hold on. The one thing that we won't warranty is if a mower hits it, that's not warranty. Just
Yeah.
once you know that.
Got it.
Because everybody says, no matter what, it's warranted, right? Well, we don't make them out of kryptonite, so.
So what happens if there's tampering? What would happen then?
So if you're saying like if a homeowner tampers with it, so if a homeowner goes out and disconnects it, you'll get an alarm saying disconnect. So you'll know immediately, you guys can go out and fix it again. There's nothing really the homeowner can do that can tamper with it that would cause the battery to decrease.
Okay.
So yeah, really lawn mowers, destroying it. They'll go out there and cut the wire thinking they're getting away with something, but the nice thing is once you hook it up again, it catches right back up to the meter, so.
You haven't lost
If
any?
someone decided to get into one of the boxes, I'm assuming the radio is attached to the lid to the meter?
Yes.
Okay, and so if someone decides to remove that and they just keep pulling, not realizing that maybe there's a wire, is there a quick disconnect, or is this something?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yep,
it's something it'll break away, it's not going to destroy anything.
Exactly.
Someone can come back and plug it in easily.
So you're talking about an antenna, you're not talking about anything that sticks up above the
No.
meter cover?
No, it'll be flush in the meter cover, so yeah, it just sticks perfectly flat.
The only ones that will be raised a little bit are, of course, the metal lids. They'll be raised about 1/4 of an inch. So it'll still sit on the lid, but it'll be up about 1/4 of an inch.
If I'm not mistaken, it's probably about 4 or 5 inches in diameter. If you drive through Midwest City, you'll see them sitting on top of theirs.
Yeah, it looks like a little mushroom, and what we do is we drill a hole in your lid, and then it sits flush. So again, they're ADA approved, so wheelchairs can roll over them.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not gonna cause any issues, but again, sometimes somebody will hit
You
it with a lawnmower or an aerator. Those are not aerator proof.
What is the cost of a battery?
So the radio itself, you can't replace the battery, it just has to be warrantied out.
So what kind of cost is with that part?
Again, so it's prorated, so what we do is we take the price of whatever you guys paid for it, and let's say it goes out in year 11, you would pay 10% of that price to get a brand new unit. And then if it's like year 18, it would be, I forget the exact breakdown, but.
90% or so?
No, yeah,
So
80%.
what is the unit cost?
Right, was it?
It's 10% of what?
Of the unit price that we bid.
What is
So-
the unit price? That's what
It was in there, so we're talking like the 5/8, like the normal,
Right, right, the 5/8 3/4.
the,
If you take the 8,400 divided by the 3.99, it's $452 and some change
for a unit.
per each.
That's for the meter and the endpoint together. You can almost, so you said 4 what?
452 and some
So
change.
452, so you're probably looking at 230
226?
for an endpoint.
Yeah, for
and
the
then
endpoint.
rest would be for
And I
the
believe
meter.
in the bid.
Okay.
Did you guys ask for the breakdown? For
yeah,
line
we have a
item?
breakdown.
Yeah, so
Okay.
it would be in there. It'd be whatever.
Okay,
the-
so the 5/8 has a unit cost of $131.
Well, that's the meter.
That's the meter. You'd have to find the
Okay.
endpoint or transmitter.
So then the endpoint is 253.
So, yeah, so 253. So year
Okay.
11, it would be $25.30 to replace that.
And,
Right.
okay, so at year 21, so at 21, you know, your obligations end. And so the battery goes dead there. Do we just have to replace the endpoint? So that part.
Correct.
The meter should still be good until we decide it's, how long do you think the actual meter part
Same
is
thing.
supposed
So
to
the
be?
meter has a battery as well that has a 15-year warranty, and then it has a field replaceable battery that is $15. So at year 16, 17, 18, whenever that battery goes dead, you can get a unit, replace the battery, and you're up and running again for another 15 years.
And so how about that battery change at year 15 or so? What happens per this contract?
So again, if the battery starts dying, what it'll be, since the unit is warranted, meter is warranted for 15 years, let's say it dies at year 7, we replace the whole meter. If it dies after year 15, then you guys either replace the battery, which will get it up and running again, or we can replace the whole meter.
The only thing in the meter that can literally go bad because they're a non-moving part meter is the battery. So at the year 15, now, again, if the warranty will be done, but if you replace the battery, you could probably get 15 more years out of it and keep running, and the battery's $25.
Right, yeah.
So, but again, the only thing that can die in the meter is gonna be the battery.
And that was one of our concerns whenever we first started looking at this like 8 years ago or so, was that having the whole city die at year 15 or 20, you know, and then having a huge cost. So the cost of replacing the batteries should be minimal.
Minimal. And the other good thing is, as Dan said earlier, you know, the meters will tell you, by looking at them if you get a bad battery, and then our endpoints will tell you through the software. So we're gonna warn you before they die.
Yeah, so you can run a report every single year and say, hey, show me the battery life of every radio. And then you can say, okay, show me the battery life of every radio. It's below 90%, below 50%, below 30%. So you'll have far in advance warning as to when these are gonna start dying on you.
You have a recommendation as to when to replace the battery if we get down to, should we start replacing them when they hit 10%? Is there a quicker decline once you hit, 10%?
They're lithium ion batteries, my brain went blank there for a minute. So you can't really 100% judge a lithium ion battery because they're either on or off. So my suggestion is if they get below 40%, replace it. Yep.
And yeah, with the meters, they'll give you a warning. They'll suggest, hey, battery issue.
So through year 20, you're going to keep updating the software and that stuff. So after year 20, what kind of costs should we be looking at to get the data?
Maintain
or
the system.
To maintain the system.
Okay, the endpoints won't turn themselves off, so they're guaranteed for 20, but they're also the life of the endpoint. So if it makes it to 25 years, then you get 5 years worth of quote-unquote free data. So it's the life of the endpoint is how the data works. So if it makes it to 22, then you got 2 years worth of free data. So what I would suggest is, around year 18, you start looking at some kind of a change-out program. Start looking at the batteries and find out, like Dan said, which ones are below 30 or 40%. Start replacing those so you can kind of do your change-out gradually versus, trying to do it all at one time.
And we're going to have to, after year 20, we're going to have to change out the endpoint.
Some of them, yes.
But that's a use part that's going to have to.
Right. Correct.
Yeah, or a consumable.
Consumable.
And then a battery for the meter. And hopefully the communicator would keep working, or
Well, the endpoint is the communicator.
The endpoint is the communicator.
Correct. We don't have any infrastructure because we're operating on the infrastructure already put up by the cellular networks. So the beautiful thing is you don't have to go out and maintain any of that.
Okay, so we don't have, because that's a good point, which for Ms. Brown is, and the rest of you guys is, Midwest City had a problem where they had to go put the whole infrastructure in, and then it didn't quite reach everybody. So, I mean, this is beautiful on this.
Yeah.
I actually sold Midwest City.
And so kind of where I think you're leading
You're the
your
one.
questions are, so these AMI.
Different company.
So these AMI systems in general and metering systems, most utilities replace them every 10 to 15 years, just full 3.7 million every 10 to 15 years. But that's why I partnered with SET and Zenner, because they have the longest warranties and kind of the best technology. So we can stretch those out to 15 to 25 years versus every 10 years you're spending $3 or $4 million.
So let's talk about the billing procedures. For some reason, we have trouble keeping our billing cycle in sync with the meter reading. We tend to slip behind. Is this going to improve our billing procedures? Will we be able to get the billing caught back up and out on time? Brittany is shaking her head yes.
Yes. So what happens is
We're going to be playing catch-up, you know. Okay.
So what happens is the radio is going to read the meter every hour. Twice a day, it's going to send the information back. So what billing will do is whenever it's time to bill a certain route, there is just a button they push that says export to billing. And it takes the most current read that the system has and drops it into billing.
Let me ask you a question. Right now, we send the billing out to a third party. Is that correct? So will this eliminate the need for the third party? Will this be able to do the billing?
I don't know, because there may still be a need to send it out for the printing purposes and folding and mailing and all of that.
I see.
There may still be a benefit to use them, but where we're going to eliminate the delay is right now, we have, let's say everyone's healthy and not on vacation. We have 3 meter readers reading an entire zone. Well, that might take 2 or 3 weeks. So his read's coming in 3 weeks after his, but yet they're on the same billing cycle. And so his bill has to wait even though it's ready. So once this system is implemented, if the
Becomes
cycle changes
instantaneous.
on the 30th, we're printing bills on the 1st. I mean, it is that fast. There is no delay at all.
Good. So we'll get caught up. All right. Okay.
So on the data, so how does it, so it is free to get it from, the cellular data coming in and then actually putting it into that software. So after year 20, to put it into the software, is that just part of the endpoint? Gets it into the software, or is there somebody who, is there some company that is going to charge us, a percentage?
So it'll stay with us, and Bruce, correct me if I'm
Now,
wrong.
they answered that saying you could have 2 years of free data. If you went 22 years, then you get the last 2 years
Yeah,
free.
so what happens
So
is the
he's
data
already-
goes to the cell unit, and then AT&T or US Cellular, whoever has it, sends it to Amazon Web Services. Amazon Web Services sends it to SET, and then SET says, oh, this data belongs to Dell City, and it goes into the software. Even after the 20 years, we're still going to do that process because we've paid for that until the end of the life of the radio. So once the radio dies, then we say, okay, do you guys want to re-up and start over again with another 20, or do you want to do, something like that? But the whole process of reading the meter to the radio, to cellular, to software, to your software is all included.
So that leads to, so the data is connected to each radio or each endpoint, right? So say at 5 years, we have a radio go out. Do we now have, we've used up 5 years of that data. Do we just have 15 years of data, or is the date, you get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
does it restart?
So
If it's
we're
connected to
sending
that radio, sort of like I got my SIM card, right? And it's connected to that device.
Right. So it would be the 15 years, yeah. So if it dies at
Okay.
year 5, let's say it just goes out, you've already paid for the 20 years of data.
Yep.
So what we do is we give you a new radio that has 15 years of
Gotcha.
data.
Okay,
So
so you're,
technically with that one, you'd probably easily get to 25
Yeah.
because
Okay.
now you have that extra unit.
perfect.
And paying for that data, like I said, 25 or 28 years, if you happen to make it there, you would still have it
Exactly,
going.
yeah. We don't come back and say, well, you hit your 20, let's collect more money.
Okay, time for the.
Yeah, if we're
Right.
rolling along, we just keep rolling along.
Yep, exactly.
All right.
We're not
Very
ever
good.
gonna shut them off, it's not we're hitting 20 years and we're like, okay, Dell City's on.
Time out.
Shut off tomorrow.
Okay, so the next question is if you guys go, if you guys go out of business or whatever else, is this simple enough technology to where somebody else would hopefully buy you guys up and be able to take over?
Yes, very much so. In fact, a lot of the bigger AMI companies are now starting to jump into cellular. SET was one of the first companies to do it. They're owned by a large private equity firm and a publicly traded company. So if anything were to get towards bankruptcy, there would be other multiple companies that would happen to just eat them up and continue on. In fact, I've been with 2 companies that has happened to over the past 20 years, where Amco being one of them, Datamatic being a second one, where they just could not function, they could not work, and bigger companies came in, scooped them up, and maintained the customer support.
And like, one other thing is, we are a debt-free company, So we're not looking at any of that, you know, backed by Cresconet, who is about $3 billion a year in sales. As earlier, you guys had Oklahoma Natural Gas in here. You know, we do water right now. In about 2 months, we'll have gas out on the market. So we'll do gas as well. And then about a year from now, we'll do electric as well. So we're building and growing towards the future. I don't see any chance of us going anywhere. I mean, they just dropped $2 million into gas R&D, and we're probably going to be double that into electric R&D.
Awesome. So when you all do start the conversion, or whatever we're going to call this, whenever the project starts, the biggest thing that I have for this is we need to make sure anyone that you have out there is easily visible and easily identifiable. So shirts, vests, something that lets people know who they are. We've had companies that come in the past that literally folks are in shorts and t-shirts out there working with no visible anything. Please make sure that's taken care of, because we will stop, we will ask questions.
Yeah, and we're gonna have a kickoff meeting where we want to address all of that. What do you require of our installers? Where we kick off, you know, the building company, everything, where we go through step by step. But yes, our installers will have vests, will have badges. All of them will have business cards with phone numbers to contact anybody at the city they want, or anybody, you know, contact me, whoever. So if a homeowner does have questions, we want the installers to be prepared to answer any questions and give them the right people to reach out to.
And this is sort of the perfect time to talk about the communication plan. Where were you headed?
What kind of downtime are you talking about? Like, say you come to Pam's house and you start to change out her meter. What's the downtime? She's going to be out of water for
3 minutes.
30 minutes?
3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Yeah,
You can
it's-
change that out in
It's
3
literally
minutes?
2 nuts, you unscrew, pull the meter out.
You assume that they're not frozen and rusted.
That is true. I assume they're not frozen, but these guys, yeah,
These guys are good. I mean,
Yeah.
they're averaging, you know, a couple hundred meters a day in some of the smaller communities that we've already done. So we're not worried about that. But 30 minutes is probably top end,
Okay.
but 3 to 5 is pretty normal.
pretty normal. And what they
Okay.
do is when they open up the pit, if that meter is running, they stop what they're doing and they go knock on the door. Hey,
Very good.
we're here to change your meter out. You might be out of water for a few minutes. Do you mind? And-
Okay.
Because the person might be in the shower.
Yeah, they don't just shut it off.
Exactly. And so
Yeah.
if it's running, they'll stop, they'll go to the neighbor's house, come back to that one. So again, we don't want to disrupt the citizens at all.
Okay. All right.
I
like that.
actually have a test meter at my house already. I had no idea I even had a test meter at my house until Brittany called me. And she said,
Turn off
"How?"
your shower.
She said, "How in the world did you go through 27,000 gallons?" And I was like, "Excuse me?" So, a hose on, yeah.
Wow.
It's amazing how much water can go through a 3/4 inch hose in a really fast amount of time. I have people all the time tell me that physically is impossible. And, you know, you'll go in and do search on AWWA and show them how much water, and it's unbelievable how much water can go through that, or even just a leaky toilet that people don't hear shut off. You know, the beautiful thing about the system is now we're gonna be able to show them that data at your fingertips.
Yeah, at 10 PM, you started flowing such and such a rate.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
That's very
Yeah.
good.
And
All right.
in regards to communication, so every homeowner gets their own consumer engagement login. So the software that you see on every homeowner's account, they'll be able to log in and see that themselves.
Okay.
So if they have 24 hours worth of usage, they will get a leak alarm. And then they can set that up to text them or email them that they have a leak. So the idea behind that is the homeowner will actually fix their own problem before they call you guys, because they'll be able to see all that information.
And that's all done through a third-party website, not?
No, it's
not
ours.
Okay.
It's our software.
Okay.
Is that an
Not
ex,
us.
The beautiful thing, it's not third-party, it's built into our software, so the data is all live and connected. So when your customer service team logs in, if it was third-party, the data would lag, it might be a 24-hour lag, so they won't see the same thing. The customer service people, we're gonna see the same exact data that the people at home are seeing.
Awesome.
Real
are
time.
you asking for an extra fee from customers for that kind of communication? Will there be any extra fees
So
for
we-
customers
we
for
don't
any of those?
charge you a fee. You're welcome to charge the homeowner a fee, but we don't charge you.
Nope.
It's built into our software.
Nope.
All right, so let's transition into talking to Brittany here for a second about communication, because that's a good segue right there. You shut them down right there. We're not charging fees. We're not charging anything extra on top of. So there is a plan. We've been talking about these meters for a couple of years now, and we're right on top of it.
You're going to
So-
be communicating with the public, telling them what's.
back into my nightmare of billing calibration.
Yes. So
you know,
we're,
customer service.
we're
and
there
attitude.
again,
We are.
and so,
But this is gonna be great, and I think if we, I still stand by it, where we messed up last time is we just made changes and didn't let people know they were coming.
Right. Right.
If people understand what's happening, we can get them excited about it. So Thursday morning at 9, we have a meeting scheduled with me and JD and Melissa, Hatfield, Craig. Bruce, are you coming? Okay, so I'll have them too. Bruce has been phenomenal through this whole process. He is getting me with their marketing person that they've used when they've rolled out into other cities so that we don't have to recreate the wheel. We can kind of use communication and information that's already been used in other cities that they know works. And then, we'll tailor that to our people as well. We're gonna hone in on timelines and, what to expect. Not to be doom and gloom, but this is not going to be pretty at first. It's not, because the sad reality is, just like Craig said, we have a lot of meters out there that are very old, and what a lot of people don't understand is that the older the meter gets, it slows down. It doesn't speed up, it will slow down and quit reading accurately. So once we start dropping meters in that are reading 100%, a lot of people are gonna go, I have a leak, there's no way I actually use this water. Well, you've been using that water, you just haven't been paying for it the whole time. So, of course, I will be out there on the front line. I will help all of our residents as much as I possibly can. We are going to educate, we're going to inform, we are going to be out there this time. We are not going to do it like we did it last time. We're gonna get it right this time, I promise.
What can the council do to help you with that? And are there any town halls scheduled for those kind of discussions?
So that is something that we will talk about Thursday. I am not opposed, there's no such thing as too much communication on something like this. And they're gonna start moving pretty quick, it's my understanding. Like, this isn't gonna be, we're gonna sign a contract and maybe sometime next year, this is gonna start. We're gonna be working on a very limited window, and so we're gonna have to be very specific and very conscious about how we communicate to the community. We're gonna roll it out in billing cycles. It's not gonna be, everything is going to be on purpose. So once we get done with this meeting Thursday, we're not gonna leave the room until we have a good plan of attack that we are all comfortable with. Once we have that, we will be communicating with all of you, because this is gonna be a group effort. I can't do this by myself, JD can't do it by himself. It's gonna take a village on this.
Put us on your
But
calendar.
it's so great, I'm so excited.
Put
I
us
cannot
on your
tell you about
calendar
it.
now for Danwa, or our Delaware Neighborhood Watch Association meetings. Please come. Ron, make sure you get their info so we can go ahead and tell all of Ward 3 about it.
So we're talking about rollout, we're talking like after the parade. We're talking,
Probably, 3 months, 4 months? Like, how? No, let's not go that fast.
I'm just kidding.
Give me a little bit of time.
But no, we're
what
gonna do this
are we
every
looking out for rolling this out? What's the timeline on this?
It's whatever Dell City wants.
I would ask for a minimum of 90
Yesterday.
days.
Yeah, so I believe in the contract, we have 6 months.
Right.
Oh, good.
The initial contract is from the day we sign the contract.
Oh, I
we have
thought you were
6
saying to start.
Yeah.
90 days to start, and then we have 6 months to complete.
Right.
Yes, so whatever Dell City wants.
Yeah, we can go as fast or as slow as you guys want.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We're here, and we're gonna work on this out on Thursday, so we're gonna take this as fast or as slow as you guys want, because, again, you guys are gonna catch the brunt of this. Meters that, we're gonna find all sorts of things. I'll just be honest with you, I've been doing this for 12 years, I've probably sold 40 AMI jobs. We're gonna find meters that probably have never been billed for. We're gonna,
Absolutely.
the only time that you touch every meter in the city is right now. So everything that has not happened or has been a mistake in the past is gonna come to the forefront right now. So again, we're gonna go as fast or as slow as you guys want. But the main thing is we wanna get this done correctly, and we wanna make sure that the billing, is as good as it can be. But again, we're gonna have hurdles, because we're gonna uncover things, and we're gonna have things that go sideways in the middle of this project.
so you just, this is the one time that we're gonna touch all of our meters, so, Craig and Mike and everyone, we should ensure that the line going in to the meter and the line coming out of the meter. Like, this is ideal for us to not just make a meter fit and make a meter work. If there's a problem, we see some extra wear, something like that, this is the time to fix those things. And will you guys communicate that with us? There's, you know,
One of the nice things about our system is as we're installing it with our app, you're allowed to take 20 pictures at every location that gets stored back into the software. So that's where we'll sit with you guys and say, hey, what 20 pictures, or 10 or 5, do you want our installers to take? Meter, water line in, water line out, old meter, new meter, picture of the house. I didn't step on Mrs. Smith's rose garden, and they're out. And all of that comes back and it's stored in the system forever. So you guys let us know, because I think there's a lot of lead pipe laws that are coming out that you have to document in and out. And so that's why we designed the system that way.
Do we have any lead pipes? No.
We have
Thank
already
you.
put together a flyer that I'll bring you on Thursday.
Yep.
With Dell City's logo, something that you can use as a mailer to start mailing your custom, something you can put on your website. I mean, again, like she said earlier, there's no such thing as too much communication. If you want to have a town hall meeting and you need me there at that, I'm absolutely available for that as well.
Yeah, and
All right.
the set has a list of frequently asked questions for the homeowners. You know, a lot of the questions are gonna be, will my bill go up? We can come in and explain the mechanics of a meter. We can do a town hall and explain to everybody, here's how it happens. The other one that's gonna surprise you, you're gonna get a question, will these give me cancer? Trust me, we've done the studies, we've done the research, and we can present that to your citizens as well, but that will be a question, I promise you.
So one of the other questions is this is tied to federal funding. And so have you done other cities with this and completed? Have you done others and completed it? So in that way you dotted all the i's and t's and whatever else we might need to close out our project.
Yeah, so we have over 100 cities that have this system in.
But with, but again, just federally funded to where,
The
to where,
federal funding, can I, do you think of any? We can ask, but I know we have some that
They don't
are.
always tell us that, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I do know that
I can answer that for you guys. Well, they've already been vetted by my federal system before we even got to the award section. Yeah, we vetted you.
So-
You don't
so-
owe the IRS
but-
money. That's
but
step
it
number
can't-
one.
Right, right, but the other
So
part
far,
is
so
they have
good.
to hire the right people, and I'm sure
Yeah.
if they have to sign that, I mean, are they gonna have to sign anything else besides what the contract they submitted, or do they have other requirements? And just to make sure, and also a time period, because
Yeah.
we're running up to time periods and running out of time on some projects.
Right, this one is a different system, and no, they meet all the criteria, they've checked all the boxes, and they'll be done well within the time frame of this requirement.
All right.
Do we have a plan to where we're going to start with the meters? Are we going to do one ward at a time? Are we going to start north of the city or south in this way?
Melissa, we're going to do it by billing cycles, right? That's what we're talking about. That way, you don't, the last thing we want is for half of a cycle to be billed on the new meters and half to be billed on the old meters. So we'll take it a cycle at a time.
So they'll go in and read the meter, and then your crew will come along and change it
Yep, and then the beautiful thing about it, we'll also take a picture of that old meter that came out with that old reading.
with the reading.
So
Very
if
good.
somebody happens to fat finger something, these guys can go back in and look at the
Back
reading
up.
and go, hey, he made a boo-boo, this is actually the reading.
Yeah.
We have reports that we can run, meter changeout reports, so we'll tell you what meters were changed out that week, so you'll have all that data.
Very
Yeah,
good.
And also, if we do happen to run into a situation where we install the meter in the middle of the route, we record old meter reading, record new meter reading. So it does the old meter, meter out, new meter in, gives you that calculation.
So you can still, yeah, you
So
can
you're not
compensate.
gonna lose any revenue. from
Yeah,
it.
you compensate. I get it.
And Councilman Gandy, I just want to go back, I don't want anyone to think that we have tried to do this backdoor. We have been talking about this project for a long time. I just want to make it very clear that we have not rolled this out to the residents because we've not known anything. And the last thing that I wanted was to cause mass chaos. Hey, we're gonna change your meter, they're gonna be smart, they're gonna read 100%, your bill might go up, but I don't know when, I don't know who, so I just wanna be clear that we have been talking about it, but there is a reason that I didn't wanna scare everyone, especially, we're still licking wounds from billing calibration, so.
The bottom line here is, all we're gonna be charging is for the water that they use.
Absolutely.
There's no added premium, there's no added value there. It's simply what they're using. A lot of people have been skating by.
Yep.
It's gonna
On
be
the
a
old
more
meters.
accurate read. That's a more accurate bill, I apologize. So if people see their bills go up, it's not because the city's billing them anymore, they're billing them more accurately.
Right, right. Okay, very good. Thank,
Well, what we've seen some cities do, and this is up to you guys, not that I want to add any work, but you can pull several meters out from around town and then have them tested. And if they test at 60% or 80%, then you can kind of average and say, hey, our bills are going to go up 40%, they're going to go up 20%. But there's no specific, all of them are going to be this way. Because you might pull some out that are still running great, they're running at 95%.
And we won't know until they pull the meters out of the ground, and I am fully anticipating that the shock factor will hit a lot of people.
And that's what I was asking, you know, is there any kind of data to show, okay, you're gonna experience a 15% overall?
don't know until they pull the old meter.
Yeah, not,
Ron, we're gonna,
We usually see between 6 or 8, and I guess low. That's just strictly guess. I've seen a lot more on the newer times. If I had to give you a really good guesstimate, 6 to 8 is usually.
Ron, we're gonna put 2 meters at your house, charge you twice.
The only thing, the one thing I would recommend is before you turn on customer portal to your citizens, I would give it 6 months so that data can build up in there and that it's something to see. And that also gives your customer service team time to get prepared for those questions.
Okay,
Because we don't want to flood them with questions if they're not ready for it.
sure. All right, that wrap it up? Everybody good?
any other questions?
Make a motion, we close the discussion. You have something, Ron?
We just wanted to see you stand up.
Thank you. I need the exercise. Ron McCall, 3403 South Woodward, Del City. On the concept of billing, is there any way that we could set a limit that, okay, your individual bill will not increase over 20% for the first 6 months? So that we
We
can
won't
allow
know.
for that
We'll have no way
increase.
of knowing. However, and I'm gonna step out on a limb here, Ron, just because it's you. If someone makes a dramatic increase in their water bill, we can work with them.
Well, that was my thought.
Yeah, we can work with them to help them adapt, and they'll either have to learn to conserve their water consumption to get within a certain guideline.
Right.
Or figure out, you know, where
Sure.
all the water's going. But we're
Well,
not,
my-
we're not gonna go in there and start shutting everybody's water off just because
No,
they got
I
a
know
new
you won't.
meter.
And Melissa, that would be something the MSA could do a
Thank you.
resolution on, granting you, Brittany, whomever, myself, the authority to work with.
Right.
We'll figure out the wording later, but that could be a resolution passed in the future.
Yeah.
Right.
We're gonna look after that
Thank you.
for everybody but you.
One other add for that is within the consumer portal, we can set up budgets. So if every homeowner logs in and says, hey, let me know when I've used 75% of what I used last month, it'll send you an alarm. And we can also tie that to dollars. Let me
Okay.
know once my bill gets to a certain
Oh, that's
dollar
excellent.
amount. So again, it's all
Yeah.
very proactive for the homeowner.
That's excellent. I like that. Okay. Very good. Kyle, you started a motion to close the public hearing portion. Do I
I
hear a
second.
second? I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I second, Mayor.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Take the vote. Councilman Gandy.
Aye.
Councilman Brown.
Aye.
Trustee Finch.
Aye.
Trustee Dean.
Aye.
Chairman votes aye. The motion carries. We'll move on to item B, council action. Discussion, consideration, possible action to award or not deny ITB number 0217, Advanced Metering Infrastructure, AMI, water meters to the lowest responsible bidder, Innovative Utility Solutions, LLC, for an amount not to exceed $3,799,286.40. Authorize trust chair to endorse same and direct staff accordingly. Do
I make
hear
a motion that we approve.
Excuse me, may I interject? Given the factors with the, all the software and the 20-year, I would like to modify the contract to encompass a little bit more of that to make it more clear that's there. We have the ITB attached. I've already spoken with both of the gentlemen here that they're expecting it. They had a couple, excuse me, contracts in the proposal, and I said we don't want to do those because they have California law, and they were agreeable to go ahead and modify this. But given the excellent 20-year warranty, I think we want to add a little bit more in there and beef that up so it's clear if anybody that looks at that in the future.
So we want to award with modification?
Yes, yes. Yes, Mayor.
Oh, no.
I like it.
I'm gonna have to call him that now. Way to go, Beverly.
Thank you, Beverly.
I can make the motion if you'd like.
Can you modify your motion?
Yep, okay, so I would like to make a motion that we award ITB 0217 with modifications. Those modifications will be approved by Beverly, or actually have already been stated by Beverly, I guess.
And the mayor?
Yeah, and mayor. So, okay, so with modification to advanced metering infrastructure, AMI water meters to the lowest responsible bidder, Innovative Utility Solutions LLC, for an amount not to exceed $3,799,286.40. Authorize trust chair to endorse same and direct staff accordingly.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Take the vote. Trustee Gandy.
Aye.
Trustee Dean.
Aye.
Trustee Finch. Aye. Trustee Brown.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The motion carries. Any further trust input?
Make a motion that we adjourn back to the Dale City Council meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Take the vote. Trustee Dean.
Aye.
Trustee Finch.
Aye.
Trustee Gandy. Aye. Trustee Brown.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We now adjourn back to the council meeting. 2 minutes? Take a 5-minute break. Let's take a 5-minute break. It's hot up here.
Melissa, we turn the air on. Are you sure?
Turn on the fan.
Yeah.
May I have some more water, please, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Hiding it back there.
Here you are, ma'am. Faster than a speedy boat. I appreciate you, Bob. Good ones?
You tell me.
Yeah, we're gonna work with people. We're not, there's not gonna be a dramatic increase with anybody. Plus, if we set these alerts up, when your bill gets to 75% of what it was, you're gonna get an alert. You can turn off the water sprinklers or whatever you're doing, quit filling your pool. Yeah, it's gonna take, well, 60 days and then 90 days. Yeah, you're having your, no big deal. This will help the city of Greenville. Oh, yeah. See, we're sending in a lot more water than we're. Time.
I never thought
Beverly.
I'd say this, but I need my attorney.
Beverly.
Bueller. Bueller.
Okay, everybody back. We will now resume from the recess. We're at item number 17, discussion only. Special projects for fiscal year 2023-24. Overmodulating is why that's rabbit. They need to turn it down. Discussion, consideration, possible action to approve or deny conducting a discussion regarding special projects that could be requested by council for fiscal year 2023-2024. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion, we open the discussion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Take the vote. Councilman Gandy.
Aye.
Councilman Finch.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Brown.
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. The motion carries. We are now open for discussion, and before we start in, I would like to jump out there with a project, City Manager, that we discussed at the last meeting, and we're talking about the entry to Dell City, the entry sign on Sooner Road at Reno. And that is a project that is sorely lacking. That is an eyesore coming into the city. We had some great ideas brought to us by the Beautification Committee, the last council meeting, and I would like to put that as the #1 project, get the entry to Dell City up to standard.
I agree.
Let me go into a quick detail on how this is going to work. I want to make sure you all know this is part of the budgeting process for Melissa and myself. A couple of department heads have stayed because they've got special projects they want us. What a shock, it's the chief. No, what I want you all to know is if we can get these on the radar now, the goal, of course, is to find the money within the city if we have it already within our means to be able to perform these. If not, this is the opportunity to say we're going out for grant funding, specialty funding, one-time funding to do any of these things. For example, the Entry to Dell City Beautification Committee project could be completed with neighborhood enhancement according to the rules and
Right.
requirements of the restricted fund. But if we can get Oklahoma Beautiful, Parks and Tourism, someone else to give us that funding, even better. So at this point, even giving us ideas that we can have down, I will try to build in what's in the budget. And I make the example, you all have $5 million in requests and we have $50,000 to spend. But if we don't have those things out now, then we can't do that. When the auditors come back and they ask us questions, why did you all perform? For example, we did do if we're going to do the bathroom project here in this next fiscal year, why was it not budgeted? Why did it have to be money moved around for it? Why was it not prepped for? This is an example of how we're prepping for it now. So this is better budgeting process, and it lets me know in this new role exactly what we're looking for. I know I have many of your requests from my previous role, but now instead of it being economic focused, now it's all encompassing.
Okay, so let's take this in two parts. We can talk about infrastructure, and we can talk about beautification and parks, and kind of keep focused, and then we'll find someplace for PD in amongst all that stuff.
Do we want to?
We're going to call you beautification.
Yeah, you need some beautification at the police department. Should we
Okay.
take this by ward potentially as well?
We could, and that would not be a bad starting point. We could start with Ward 1, and let's everybody talk about their favorite project. For Ward 1, what would you like to see? You were talking earlier about the sidewalks on Sunny Lane and the guardrails, and I think that's a worthy project. But is there something in Ward 1 that you would specifically like to see?
Right now, I think it's more about the other wards and those things.
Okay.
But, so, one of the things I just request for this whole part is we need to get out the things that he needs, that we can try to get into the budget. But I don't think that, this should be thought of as the one time to get everything in.
We've
So,
got plenty more time.
so we got plenty. So, I think we should be really just thinking of the most important things to get done tonight.
That's
And then
fine.
maybe we have another one next time. So that's what I'm saying is there's plenty of things like the entrances to all of our streets have, places where the water lines were cut out and we need to fix
Speed
those.
bumps.
Speed bumps and this. But I think that for right now that Ward 1 should be relatively okay.
Ward 2. Please say sidewalks on Sunny Lane.
Sidewalks on Sunny Lane, that's all you're getting. All of my projects that I have down here are not for Ward 2. They're for things that we have been working on that have been in the mix since I have been on council.
Let's hear your top.
My top one is the restroom for City Hall. It's been
I
on
love
here
it.
since day one that I got here.
Yes, yes. Actually, we have already voted on that in a previous council meeting. We voted to move forward with that. We just are waiting on the bid process. Is that correct? Right.
I think we had
But
voted
let's go
for-
ahead and let's put that down. The restroom, we approved the restroom modification, remodel on the ground floor at City Hall.
I think that was the
Plus-
one that we had.
Plus, the restrooms at the community center, the
Yeah, we-
senior center, and the food prep area, and the tile floor for the senior center. Those were all on the agenda and were approved by the council previously.
I think we had approved looking at the drawings because we were updating. We made some updates to the restrooms where we wanted a water closet. Is that what we're calling it? Two new water closets, I believe. So yeah, we did discuss that.
So my concern is that the restrooms at City Hall, we have voted on it before. It's been 4 or 5 years ago, but I don't want it to get lost. I want it completed.
Yeah, we're just talking about budget items. That's something that has already been approved, but we want to make that a high priority in the budget. That's where we're going with it.
And that's why whenever you come in and you see the budget coming up in the next few weeks, you can ask myself and Melissa, where is the money for blank? And we say it is right here in section 7, whatever, you know. She can read the budget easier than I can, but you get it.
We're currently talking about things that are not infrastructure. So, we've talked about the bathrooms in the senior center. I'd like to talk about lighting at Eagle Lake. I understand the trail is already in process. Is that correct? We already have the funding? Are we moving forward with the trail at Eagle Lake? So put on the budget lighting for the trail at Eagle Lake. We need to have that well lit if we're going to expect citizens to walk out there and feel safe. So lighting, I think, is a high project for the new trail that we're putting in at Eagle Lake.
We can't do lighting at Eagle Lake because it bothers the fish.
Shut up.
And however, that is a question. I think that, that part of the bicycle trail, the south half going over to that spot should be well lit.
Absolutely.
The question is whether or not we should have light pollution for the other half. And so the light pollution, would be one of the darker spots. Would people want to be actually out there with it or not? So that's just one consideration.
So when I've been to a lake and I went to the marina, they've got lights everywhere.
Yeah.
Is this such a thing as light pollution out of lake?
Well, definitely Draper is very dark, but that's not Draper. But again, it's just the question is trying to figure out, do we really want to have the whole trail lit, or do you want to have it?
We need the trail lit if we expect it to be used, especially in the winter months when daylight goes away early. So
I have to think safety for our citizens.
I think lighting is a high priority.
Pam, you had others, Pam, correct? We're still Ward 2?
Yes, I did. The sound at the community center, I think that is a must.
Yeah, put that up there. Everything is going to be top of the list. You know that, right? We need the sound center at the community center. Budget for that. Put a big star by that. Underline it.
Sorry, Chief, there wasn't money.
But you'll be able to speak about how much money you don't have clearly at the community center.
We've talked about the activity center. That's on my list. The Eagle Lake upgrade, our Ray Trent Park. And I would like to have a clear view of what we're going to do there. I just don't want to jump into something. I want a good plan.
Stealing my thunder here.
So yeah, both of us, both Kyle and I also agree, which, like I said, I was talking about the village. The village hired a company to come out and design the park, come up with the parts, and in that way you have a clearer vision of what you would like. And in that way, once you have that part done, hopefully you could actually have that same company at least start coming up with bids or different things that you might need for the engineering drawings to submit some of that ACOG or
Yeah, we're not
or
going to
some
get,
other options.
this fiscal year, we're not going to complete Ray Trent Park. So let's pay for the engineering that goes into the drawings and the plan for Ray Trent Park, which would be great to coincide with everything that we're going to be getting from HAF. HAF is going to have a ton of stuff for us too. So that's what I'd like to see for Ray Trent.
Yeah.
Okay, the Rose Lane project, at least a clear vision on that. At Edwards Park, I would like those old shrubs taken out and new trees put in. That is very minimal.
Edwards Park, is that what you
Uh-huh. New signs, or at least have the old ones touched up, just so that they
Entry
look
points.
good. I just,
said? Or park signs?
right. I'm a very visual person. If you go into a town and everything looks beat up, it means we didn't take the time to care. I think that the city hall, the garden out here, it needs to be planted, a water source, and mulched. That's another thing. It's a vision. When people come in to pay their water bill, we need to look 100%. And that's it.
What do you have, Claudia?
When we talk about infrastructure, we're talking about roads and drains and that sort of thing, and I'd like to get Bryant Avenue north of 15th Street. If you guys have driven that, that is the worst piece of road that we own in the city.
By far, and I have, since day one on council, I have been fighting to get some headway there. We need to figure out that portion of Bryant for sure.
And just so we're clear, both Hatfield and Craig have been working on that. According to our surveys, that entire section, 15th to Scott Street, is not in Del City's limits. That's why we haven't touched it.
Really?
That is on each one of their lists, but we can't touch that. Technically Oklahoma City's property. Now, we are going to check that, survey it, and figure out if that is the truth. But when you look on the county assessor's website and then previous surveys, it actually shows as you move up Bryant, it slowly veers off to the east until Bryant is completely covered by Oklahoma City. At which case, if we know anybody that knows Oklahoma City Council people, we could ask them to do it for free for us, so.
So while you're figuring that out, I believe that Vicky is actually a very important street there between 15th and 29th. That whole area needs to be resurfaced. I did send some pictures to JD today with some pretty large potholes that I think, need to be fixed in the immediate time. But I would like to see all of Vicky between 15th and 29th be completely redone. And also the school zone wavy line, what is the professional name for that?
Squiggly line.
The squiggly line, thank you. I believe all of that needs to be repainted and redone. The crosswalks need to be done.
Yeah, that would go hand in hand with the resurfacing project.
Yeah, all
Yeah.
of that, that needs a new face. And staying in the Old Town area, I would like to see a park, or even a splash pad. I have looked into some possible grants out there for splash pads specifically, so I know that there's going to be some good help out there, but I think a splash pad would be great for Old Town.
2 parks in the state of Oklahoma that have got to the top 10. There's one up by Tulsa, and actually the Scissortail Splash Pad is within the top 10. So we could be up there.
Yeah, it's definitely something that the kids would really have a lot of fun with, and they can actually walk there in that Old Town area. They definitely need more help. And big picture here, hopefully coinciding with police. I do know that we've got a pretty high juvenile detention rate, and I want to see what we can do to help our youth. What is it that they need after school, during school? What can we build for them that will keep them busy? What can we do as a community there? Whether we grow the community center and really start getting some things in there for our youth,
But we definitely want to start seeing something for our youth, something that they can do. And that was pretty much it. Vicky is one of my main things. Lighting, I like what you said, Mayor. We definitely could do with updating a lot of our lighting down Vicky, lighting near our schools, lighting near our new pathways. We can definitely look into getting some kind of help for new lighting projects. Thank you.
So Vicky was on my thought as well, and so this past paving on it, I think has only lasted about 8 years or 7 years.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I was talking to a paving company about is it's just kind of how thick you're going to actually make it. So they were kind of laughing at some of the cities where they just do like a 1 inch or a 2 inch, and possibly, changing that thickness to hopefully make our main thoroughfare of Vicky last longer.
Yeah.
So it would be better to try to spend a little bit more money on that project. And also looking into the actual drainage to make sure that all the streets are draining down Vicky, because that's unfortunately where the water has to go.
That's the channel. Yep.
So, Ward 4? Okay, so I know Heisel, it's in need of some repair. I know it's on a list somewhere. It has certainly started to degrade much faster here in the last couple of years. Howard, another street that's got some pretty, there's just some rough sections. It's not, it's not horrible, but I think it's,
Might do spot repair.
yeah,
on
and
Howard.
I think it's the base layer, whatever's underneath has failed in a few
road
places.
base.
Basically from Gina to just north of Judy is a really bad section there. And it's from all the, there's one spot where I think a trash truck, you can just tell that's where it stops every time, and it's just slowly worked that pavement there. So there's that. I would like for us to really work to get Eagle Lake connected to Midwest City through that trail system there. There's gonna be that spot where
Yeah.
we.
There's a lot of grant money for trails.
Yeah, that it's going to stop right there at Sooner. We're going to have nothing. We will be the we will be the section of trail not there here very shortly. So I would like us to really fight hard to do that. We've already talked about Ray Trent, where I would just like us to spend some money on engineering. I don't think we should really spend anything until we know what we're going to be doing 5, 10, 15 years down the road there.
That's part of what we're doing with the half company.
And so my other ones that I had, since I passed on mine, was over at 28th and Epperly at the fire station. We probably really need to look at replacing that intersection from 28th and Epperly over to the post office, because we always have all the heavy fire trucks in and out. We have all the traffic in and out. That, if we can get that to at least the mailbox, because the mailbox always has the part falling in. But that would be a nice, smaller area to do. But also on the other side of, 31st Street has a lot of failures, but that's kind of more of, again, getting back to just road-based failures.
Back to 28th and Epperly, I think there's a lot of heavy florist truck going through there.
Yeah. Multiple ones.
As part of that, should we consider putting an actual, rather than asphalt, but concrete base
Right.
for not just the road, but also in front of the mailboxes? That constantly is failing.
Yep.
So
Let's go back to that intersection when we initially were designing the fire station there, and there was an island that had a flagpole, and you guys remember the flagpole and that little island? And we were supposed to put was it a statue or a plaque to Bob Woods in the center of that? And then when we rebuilt it, all we got was grass. That was supposed to go back with a flagpole and a plaque honoring Bob Woods. And that's something that we might look into. That would be some parks.
Does the fire station not have a flagpole at all, or did they put it in the wrong place over on the north side?
They put it in the wrong place. Yeah, it's on the north side.
I wonder if we could get that moved.
So Mayor, what if we did, instead of doing the plaque and a flagpole there, what if we did just a little something on the
On
Rose
29th.
Lane project, just so that,
We talked about that. Rose Lane, if you guys are familiar, is the parking lot for what used to be Gregory's and all those other shops there, and that actually belongs to the city. And what we had proposed in the past, this has been before the council in the past, the area between the Highline poles and the street. Right now, it's concrete, but it's kind of useless because you really can't get around and park in it. It's hard to get through there. So in the past, we had proposed take out the concrete section from the Highline poles to 29th Street, make a green space there with sort of a winding sidewalk going through there. In fact, we have drawings for that. We had that engineered. And perhaps we could put electrical outlets at strategic places so that when we have some sort of event in that area, like the music festivals that we had, the music programs, vendors could set up. You suggested the business market could be held outside with tents, and that'd be a great event to put there. If we make that green space in between the Highline poles and 29th Street.
Yeah, as a part of, on a couple of different occasions, HAF had some really very cool drawings where they had taken brick and they had taken grass and they had made it really a very usable, some examples of some very usable spaces there that I thought, and they actually had, if I remember correct, they actually had a rendering of what specifically what Rose Lane could look like for what looked like a minimal investment, really.
We actually have engineered drawings of that area where we proposed it.
Yeah, so that could be an easy win.
I think when we were working on that, that's about when COVID hit and everything came to a screeching halt. So that's something that can be revisited. We can pull out the old drawings. We really don't have to re-engineer it. One of the suggestions was to put all the Highline poles underground. However, that's cost prohibitive, not only to the city who would be doing the main lines, but all the shops that are served off of the feeder systems from those Highline wires, because they would have to convert from overhead service to underground service, and that would put the burden on each individual shop. So we kind of nixed that program and went to just realigning the Highline poles, getting them in a straight line. Right now, if you look at them, they're kind of all over the place. There's no rhyme or reason to the system. But we do have drawings for that, and I think that's something we could bring out and revisit. So, okay.
My other thought was this, the sidewalk between about 24th and 22nd on Sunny Lane. So what currently you have a lot of people in Pam's neighborhood that try to walk up along Sunny Lane, in between Sunny Lane and the creek that's open without a guardrail or any kind of railing. So when we discussed this, we came up to the thing is we can't put a railing in because in between the railing and that, it's crush zone. So we got nixed on trying to make it safer that way. But we discussed this is that we think with a minimal amount of work and looking at it, that we could get enough room between the creek and the houses and use the west side of the creek to go and make the
put
sidewalk.
the sidewalk on the west side of the canal.
Right. And then that way, we'd at least solve that part. So, I mean, it might take, a small amount of purchases or different things, and then just to get the sidewalk put in.
I think
and
the
possibly some fences.
easement's there, it's overgrown.
Right.
There are trees growing in it.
Yeah.
So you're looking at Public Works coming in and clearing some trees. And that would be that and just the concrete. I don't think.
We stopped whenever they.
We went out there and looked
Yeah,
at
we
that
looked
and
at that.
measured it.
Yeah,
and
it looked
there's
close.
enough land.
It looked close. And if we don't, then we, unfortunately, we just go and see about buying a little bit of tiny land out of
Buy
it.
4 feet, keep
Buy 4 feet, change the fence out and have it. But
Well, that's another project you can put on the list. I think we've got more projects than we're gonna be able to do right now.
That's true. But the big thing is I wanted to make sure you all had a chance to talk about this because you tend to see the budget and then as we go through the fiscal year, a project comes up and then we have to find the money, and that's usually the burden for Miss Melissa is, can you find the money in the couch cushion for us to do this? And it's better to have it prepared for up front, or give us the opportunity with the grant writing team I'm putting together to go look for that money in advance.
So
perhaps what we could do is, perhaps you and I could sit down and sort of put together a prioritized list and then present it to the council at the next meeting. Is everybody good with that?
Yes, I wanted to talk back to that 28th and Everly. Several portions of that has already been replaced.
That's
So,
true.
but there's another one starting that's right there in front of 28th and Everly.
I
Another
think it's the high
pothole.
traffic from the Floors shop.
It is, actually. But also, let's think about doing the alleyway where the post office is, because it is horrible, and the city
Yeah.
does own that.
That needs to be a complete new road base there. That's what we need to do.
I mean, I think
That was
we'd
a
go with
result of a-
concrete rather than,
Well, that initially started when we had a water line break there, and that saturated the road base.
what you got,
And-
Ron?
And I think that you'd have to think about that, whether or not we have any more water main problems. We might want to change the water main before you start pouring concrete. So the one thought, JD, is if we could possibly look into kind of having a knowledge after doing the budget that drainage has this amount of money recurring each year. Not necessarily just how much it is, but recurring. And then that way we could go and say, you know, as I have a drainage box or this stuff or different thoughts that we could look at, seeing if we could, you know, that could stimulate some thoughts about how to spend some money without going into, you know, the money that's kind of stored.
I actually think
I'd
this,
be interested in hearing Chief Berger. He probably has some ideas. Have you got some things that, like a wish list? Is there something you'd like to add to this?
Don't open that can, man.
No, we're gonna open it. Come on up, Chief, and tell us what you're thinking.
And Ron, you had some things as well?
We're gonna practice the answer for you right now. No, no, no. Okay, we've practiced.
One of the things I'd like you to consider, and I've spent some time talking with JD on it, is replacing our whole CAD and RMS, which is our computer-aided dispatching and records management system. Currently, we're operating off of a Cardinal system. They're based out of Texas. It's been in place there in the PD now. I think it went in '98, and we went live with it in '99. I had a company come in. They actually took over in Ronan County right now, and Caliber is the name of the company, and they're actually running it for Oklahoma County. They came in and looked at my system and said, okay, this is what you have, and basically said we're operating on late 90s technology. So one of the things that it would benefit is, for example, when an officer does a report, now he goes out and takes a report. If we have to run a driver's license and ID for the report, he's inputting that information in 3 or 4 or 5 different modules over and over again. This new system allows drag and drop. Once that information is ran by a dispatcher, it automatically drops, it automatically populates. And eventually building onto that system with laptops in the cars. My goal with that would be to keep the officers in the cars,
Out
on the street.
Yeah.
Currently, if an officer goes out and he takes a simple vandalism report, a petty larceny report, a simple report, he has to return to the station and come in, and he's going, for that one report, he's going to spend a minimum of 20 to 30 minutes just on a simple report right there in the station doing that. If he gets into a large report, a DUI accident or anything like that, a domestic violence, he could spend several hours there in the station doing a report, and it takes him off of the street.
Right.
Whereas some of these new reporting systems automatically populate, fill in charges on different sections, and would keep them in the car a lot longer out on the street. The officer could do a simple report right there on scene and have it submitted and gone. So I think there's some updating. We've looked at different options. We're looking at some grant funding on that also. But just so you know where I'm kind of headed next with some of my major projects is that.
Do you have any idea what the dollar figure is on something like that, a budgetary number?
Caliber, when they came in here a few weeks ago and gave us an estimate, I just got their budget. They're looking at about $283,000 initial setup, and then they're looking at about a reoccurring cost every year, about $77,000. So it's quite an expense. Currently, we pay just under $15,000 a year for Cardinal, so it's quite a step there. But I think with technology come along, this is the way we need to go. So,
Does this
it's
include the laptops in the officer's car, or?
No.
That's another.
That's another major expense. Right.
So what's nice about this, though, is we all would like to have more police out on the street and more visibility.
Yeah.
So without having to hire 2 or 3 more officers per shift, we can get that through just having the reports being able to be done out in the field.
And the system I'm looking at, there's more out there. I'm looking at another one also.
500,000.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them out there, but you're also talking record sharing. When we get into this, we will have access and sharing records, not only statewide, nationwide, be able to share. Currently on our Cardinal system, it's our system, nobody can access it, and we only have our data and nobody else's data. So we're kind of on our own little island again right here without sharing any data. So this opens that door, allows us to be able to see criminal history, all of that right there in the car, and be able to share data, know what somebody's done with this person in Tulsa or Wichita or wherever. So what we're dealing with.
We're gonna need to look for some grant money, J.D.
So, just so you know, we've already had that conversation this morning. We'll have a grant submitted most likely by Friday or Monday of next week for the initial cost of this. If we can squeeze the laptops out of them too, even better. The problem we're having is if we can get these one-time costs funded, and it's not just for his project, I pick on him, but all of his projects are phenomenal. But any of these things that we do, it's the recurring that's gonna get us. Hence why we did these water meters, there is no recurring cost. It was a giant up front. Luckily, ARPA came in and took care of that, so that covers that cost. But the $77,000 recurring, he's already got $15,000 budgeted, but he still needs $65,000 or more to do that. And Melissa, do we have an extra 65 a year lying around? Not so much. We'd have to move it around, modify it, change it up.
But you can look at it
Steal
like,
it from
what
Hatfield,
does
you
an
know.
officer, what does an officer, just a generic officer cost a year? 100,000-ish?
Easy 100K for a low end.
And
yes.
we're looking at, over the course of a year, keeping the officers out in the field, out on the street, much more than just one officer. So, I mean, the payback on this is gonna be ongoing, even though it's 77,000 a year.
What percentage of an officer's shift do they spend writing reports, you think, on average? 25%, 50%?
It varies, but I would say a good estimate is probably 40 to 50%.
Okay, so take one officer and you have paid for that.
The cost of the
The
system,
cost of
the
that
annual
system
cost.
by having them on the street at
Yeah,
that point.
yeah.
But you're not telling me to get rid of an officer, right?
Telling you to get rid of an officer, I'm saying that it is paid for and we are basically doubling our police presence by just
Absolutely.
spending $65,000.
I like it. I like it.
I may be adding more, but the last time I did take a tour of your facility, I did also notice that your dispatch system was fairly old as well. Would that tie in together? Are those?
That is it.
That is
the-
all together.
The
Okay.
CAD is the computer-aided dispatching, and the RMS is the records management. And you have to have both those in conjunction with each other. So Caliber does both of those, and that's tying them both together. So you can run, say the officer goes out there and runs a driver's license, and dispatch is running that if the officer doesn't run it in the car, and he drops it in there, and the officer has all the information to include photograph on the driver's license, everything right there, and then can turn and then drop that into a report, which saves the entry time. Over time, currently, we went to the electronic ticket writers here about a year ago. And over time, this system also would allow us to integrate their electronic ticket writers into this and to be able to take away from what we're currently paying to Tyler. So I could absorb some of those costs in that over time, but we're in a contract with them for a period of time. But over time, I would look at reabsorbing that cost
Integrating.
back in there and seeing what we could do to help with that cost. But it's gonna be a major cost to try to get into it right away, get into what we need. But again, that's why I wanna put it out there that,
We have a goal.
yes.
One of the things that, this is sort of out in left field for something that I would think would be advantageous would be like a dictation piece to the software where officers can actually, I don't, not everyone types all that fast, so just another time-saving thing. It's just something that in the medical field is pretty prevalent that saves a lot of time.
No, they make those for law enforcement too, and I've had to use those in the past on a smaller instances, but yes.
So Chief, just so I have it down for our special project discussion, the CAD RMS system goes hand in hand. They're not separate systems, it's one system as a whole?
You need them to be one system as whole,
Okay.
yes. They are two different areas, but they need to be in one system,
Okay, laptops in the vehicles,
yes.
and then you're going to need either cellular phone or tablet service within those laptops to get the information back and forth.
Yes.
So that'll be a recurring cost. Is there anything else specific to this project or another project we need to put into this to make it all?
No, because we currently have iPads in the cars which have Wi-Fi service. So eventually what we would be doing is we're taking that, what we're paying currently for iPad service, it's like $40 and a penny per iPad out there in a car right now. That would go away and replacing it with the Wi-Fi service in the laptop. So there's some things that can be rolled into that.
Offsetting.
As we take the iPads out and put a laptop in, so,
Be offsetting value.
yes.
Chief, didn't we discuss that you have a problem with your emergency generator and what's supplied there? So I'm thinking that maybe we should budget $5,000 or $10,000 to fix.
Service it?
It's not the generator, it's just where the circuit breaker panel is sending the electricity to.
And we have found that out over the last couple storms is when they wired the dispatch center, only certain amount of plugs in that dispatch center are powered up by the emergency generator.
yeah.
If the power goes out, the building basically shuts down except for certain outlets in the dispatch center. And that generator's big enough to run the whole department, and why it wasn't that way, I don't know. So, but
That's
we've
something to
gotten to
look
where
at.
maintenance is coming out on a regular basis and making sure it's updated and will start and run for us. And the last power outage, where everything was just fine. But yes, eventually looking at being able to power the whole building.
Yeah, so it seems like we should budget 7,500 or so. Mayor might have a better idea of what it
Yeah,
would cost, but
probably 10.
to go and figure out how to get the circuits on the right circuit.
Okay, all right, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ron, what do you got?
Excuse me. Ron McCall, 3403 South Wolford, again.
Still,
I don't know how many of you are aware of the situation with the Zebra One, the dog catcher. Currently, Oklahoma City's animal shelter over here is shut down due to animal influenza. Consequently, they're not taking any new animals unless they're vicious, which leaves our animal control officer in kind of a dilemma. She's having to store non-vicious animals at a little facility up off of 4th Street. I don't know how many of you have been up there. I had the opportunity to run up there here a while back when I delivered some dog food for her. They have a little approximately 10 by 10 chain link cage, dirt floor. Does have a roof over it, but they're utilizing igloo type dog houses in there. As I say, it's a dirt floor. You guys have been talking about hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. I'm talking 10,000 maybe, to run a concrete floor, set that pin over on it. She's using an old wagon, covered wagon, I'm gonna call it, it's a trailer, as storage for dog food and other supplies. It looks like we could do something up there to make it a little bit more inhabitable for those animals.
a little more humane.
Yeah. And convenient. You know, it's stuck clear back around behind all the maintenance equipment and buildings. Not exactly easy to get to. And even access to that pin, you're walking through water or mud.
Okay, we weren't aware of that.
So I just want to bring it to your attention. Maybe you could find an extra load of concrete somewhere to lay a concrete pad, 4 inches thick, put the cage over it, some type of a little storage building that she can at least have a decent place to store the food or whatever necessity she needs. I don't even think she has running water at that area.
We can get a water line. That's doable, right?
If you're gonna have a
Water line?
concrete floor, why not have a water line that you can wash the concrete off with? Because
Yeah.
you're gonna have dog poop.
Right? Water line? That's what they make trenchers for. Okay, all right, thank you,
But
Ron.
anyway, Victoria, I'm sure Victoria would appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that
So
to us.
the other question is, you know, we built you guys a new public works building. You have a lot of these. Right, and that's my, right. Is there any spot, you know, any spot inside the old warehouses down there, you know, the different spots that you got that she could possibly use?
Let's,
So anyway, if you guys could look into
Let's
trying to
look
find a
into
spot.
that.
The nice thing about where that pin is, there is a nice big shade tree.
Yeah.
maybe we can have you guys look into that and come up with some suggestions in the next council meeting? Mhm. Is that all right?
Sorry, guys.
Thanks. Ron, we're on it.
Thank you.
Okay, it's,
And I think that we probably should ask those guys, I mean, what kind of, are we gonna buy anything from Public Works side?
let's let them look at it and come back with suggestions in 2 weeks. The hour is getting late and
Yep.
we have plenty to do still.
So the question is, does Public Works have any one or two projects that they want to bring up?
Public Works, do you have anything you want to talk about?
Like one or two
While we're talking
projects
about
or
budgets?
anything else?
Don't say a dog kennel. That's already out there. Going once.
Do not say a knuckle boom truck.
Hey, we've already got those coming.
Where are the knuckle boom trucks? How far out are we on this? Awesome.
We do have the knuckle boom trucks. They're in the yard, and you'll actually see them at the parade. We're gonna use them to block off the streets. Any projects that I would like to see done, or Public Works would like to see done, is just keep updating our outdated, technology in our buildings. So I won't get specific, but there's things that are very, very old that need to be,
Why don't you bring us back some suggestions?
okay.
Bring us back something, and let's go back to the knuckle boom truck for just a minute.
Yes, sir.
So are we approaching the time when we can take over the large trash project ourselves? Is that something that is coming soon?
Most likely next year, because we still gotta get 2 new sanitation drivers to be able to handle that, right?
We have a couple proposals to pitch. We're making some changes in the sanitation department. We're gonna request to open 2 more jobs in that division. We're hoping, and I'm very optimistic that it'll be this next fiscal year.
Okay,
So,
all right. Well, I'm real interested in taking control of the large trash days, and I really like the idea of doing it perhaps by wards, rather than having the entire city with trash on the curb for however long. We
that's
can just
one of the proposals.
just do a ward at a time and
And
work through it.
one of the ideas that you mentioned, we're trying to incorporate both ideas into one and
Okay,
see if that'll work.
we're looking forward to hearing your proposal.
All right?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's close this public discussion. I would entertain a motion to close the discussion.
Make a motion, we close the discussion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Take the vote. Councilman Gandy.
Aye.
Councilman Brown. Councilman Finch.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. Motion is approved. Any further council input?
Yes, sir. So, Mr. Manager, if you could look into seeing about if our code folks or whoever's the appropriate one, we're not supposed to have yard signs or all the different sales. In fact, I've been like going, which auction's going on? And there's that instrument auction. And so finally I looked at it, it's April 16th.
Yes.
And then, of course, we have election ones up, and then, of course, people selling this and that. So if we could see about trying to get rid of those things, and then anybody who's putting up things like, that shouldn't be put up, have the code people call them and say, next time we're gonna see about, if we can figure out how to find them. Because, again, those things aren't supposed to be up. I make a motion that we adjourn to the Del City Economic Development Authority.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Take the vote. Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Gandy.
Aye.
Councilman Brown.
Aye.
Councilman Finch.
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. We're now adjourned to the Del City Economic Development Authority. Madam Chairman.
This is the Del City Economic Development Authority. Melissa, would you call roll, please?
Here.
Trustee Brown,
Here.
Trustee Dean. Trustee Eason,
Here.
and Chairwoman Finch.
Here. Is there any public input at this time? Nothing wrong? Any trust input?
No.
Okay, number 4, minutes. Discussion, consideration, possible action to approve minutes of the regular meeting of the DCEDA of April 17th, 2023.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? Take a vote. Trustee Gandy?
Aye.
Trustee Dean? Aye. Trustee Brown?
Aye.
Trustee Eason?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Item 5, executive session. Discussion, consideration, possible action, if any, to approve recessing to executive session pursuant to the Oklahoma Meeting Act 25, Oklahoma State 301, for the purpose of the following: discussion concerning confidential matters pertaining to economic development, including the transfer of property, financing, or the creation of a proposal to entice a business to locate within the city of Del City, including but not limited to properties located at Main Street and South Sooner Road, Southeast 15th Street and South Sooner Road, and Southeast 15th Street and South Sunny Lane Road, as provided in 25 OS 307C11, as the public disclosure of the matters discussed would interfere with the development of products or services, and public disclosure would violate the confidentiality of the businesses. Madam Attorney, do we have enough just cause?
Yes, in my opinion, this is appropriate for executive session.
Make a motion, we adjourn to executive session.
Second.
Take a vote. Trustee Eason?
Aye.
Trustee Gandy?
Aye.
Trustee Brown?
Aye.
Trustee